Republicans and Democrats could both nominate a glass of orange juice, and Democrats will still show up. They ran a scam in Pennsylvania, too, because Fetterman hid his health for months while the media covered for him, and early votes poured in, and refused to debate Oz until the very last week, while he'd already banked thousands of early votes. He deceived the voters and got away with it. This early voting thing, Republicans have to get a handle on. We show up on Election Day, and Democrats show up weeks before Election Day, day after day after day. What's the Republican strategy on early voting? I don't know. Do you? I'd like to find out, because the Democratic machine in Philly and all over Pennsylvania is grinding out early votes at a crazy clip. And come Election Day, Republicans have a big mountain to climb.
Want to get it off your chest? You're in the right place. They accuse this show of being run by boobs. Well, let me tell you something about us boobs. We're real and we're spectacular. Want politics and fun, sprinkled with a lot of laughs? Heard in every state in the Union and 770 cities around the world. We just finished our 13th year of broadcast excellence. Now in our 14th year, the Dave Weinbaum Show is streaming live all over the world. September 1906, Teddy Roosevelt, then president, told the founders of American football, both college and pro, they had to do something to mitigate the severe injuries and death. So the forward pass was born. Actually, it was airborne. To the purists, this was the end of football. Some kept slamming the air attack and kept running into human walls with leather unbarred helmets and a lack of other pads. Others adapted to the pass, and they adapted to the future of it, and they adjusted for rules to lessen the impact of head injuries, better equipment, and cater to that. Players were trying to avoid brain damage. Guess what? It saved the game. Traditionalists, 0. Opportunists, 100. In a much dirtier enterprise, elections, well, they've installed early voting. Instead of grasping the opportunity to vote early, Republicans have rejected the fact that the early votes have an undeniable effect on the elections. I've always said those who make things happen beat those who let things happen. Yes, I agree, Democrats have made an art out of stealing elections, but why give them the control of the early vote? John Fetterman is a lazy Pennsylvania disaster. But because he was a liberal progressive, even further out there than Bernie, and then he had a couple of strokes. As early voting started, he went into hiding. A much more plausible and literate candidate, Dr. Oz, tried to pull him out of the shadows. Finally, Fetterman climbed out of his hole to debate Oz less than 2 weeks from the election date. It was a disaster. But that didn't matter because Fetterman had already won. the vote advantage Fetterman had from Democrats who couldn't care less who they were electing as long as the letter D was accompanied by the name, might have met disaster if Republicans had voted early. You know, like the missing info on the Hunter Biden laptop desk, I think about 20% of those Dems would have not voted with Fetterman had they known how disoriented this man was during that debate. Shame on the Republicans. Shame on Oz for not realizing this. A window of opportunity won't open itself. This forward pass was wide open, and Republicans ran their plays after the Democrats had already won. Or am I wrong? Play the monologue thing.
December 8th, 1906, football leaders gathered in New York and voted to legalize the forward pass. The decision was in response to an uprising led by none other than President Roosevelt himself, who believed that the brutally violent game needed to change or be abolished altogether. Bet your bottom dollar that pioneers in manufacturing like the big game will respond with a revolutionary football of the future, engineered with the forward pass in mind.
We need forward thinking in the Republican Party. And if you object to this, give me a call. 573-578-2700. Let me introduce you to the show. We got a great show, the post-election show, although the election is still going on, as you all know. We've got Rabbi Moshe Rothchild coming up first. We've got in the studio coming in John Jeffrey Bradshaw. Here's a man, 254 years old, coming in. You want to see this? Here he is. He'll be right here present. And we've got Dr. Amy Cooper Hakim to tell us we really need help because all of you probably are a little pissed off. You're a little drained by what's been happening. These elections are ridiculously being vandalized. We're watching it in front of our very own eyes, what's happening in Maricopa County. Speaking of which, we've got Jeff Zink, who is, I think, still running for Congress in Maricopa County. And he's the guy that headed up the Arizona audit. He knows what's going on. He knows all these people. He knows Kari Lake. He knows Katie Moss, the gal that actually is the Secretary of State running against Kari Lake for the governorship, and yet she is the one who controls the elections. How does that work? That's nuts. And last but not least, we've got a guy who is out there, who is an amazing lawyer out of Boca Raton, and both the Hakims have suffered through another hurricane in Florida. I hope this one missed them as well. I think it did, but we're going to find out about that. And by the way, J.J. Bradshaw is going to come in and talk a little bit about Veterans Day. All you veterans out there, thank you so much for what you did for us. And hopefully you're all doing well. Thank you for those, including my Uncle David, who I'm named after, David Weinbaum, who was killed 2 weeks before the end of World War II by Nazis. He was a captain and a tank commander. So that was 2 weeks before the war ended. But Shortly, we're going to have Rabbi Moshe Rothchild. In fact, it'll be any minute now, any second. So if you want to call the show, 573-578-2700, or you can send us a message via...
Yep, Facebook, Twitter, also DaveWeinbaum.net.
Okay, let's do a bit while we're here. Let's do the new Reagan one.
I remember the story of the fella here a while ago who was running for Congress as a Republican. He stopped by a farm to do some campaigning, and when the farmer heard he was a Republican, his jaw dropped, and he said, "Wait right here." He said, "While I get Ma. She's never seen a Republican before." So he got Ma, and the candidate looked around for a podium to give his speech from. The only thing he could find was a pile of that stuff that Bess Truman took 35 years trying to get Harry to call fertilizer. So he got up on the mound, and when they came back, he gave his speech. End of it, the farmer says, "That's the first time I've ever heard a Republican speech." Candidate said, "That's the first time I've ever given a Republican speech from a Democratic platform."
Stuff, I'd say. Pretty good stuff. Okay, for some reason the rabbi is late, which I will aggravate the hell out of him for that. Send him a message and say, "No." Anyways, young adults are diagnosed. I can't read my own handwriting. Okay. With mental disease, with mental damage. It's tough when you do handwritten notes. They should be outlawed. Young adults. Oh, by the way, first I have to greet my lovely bride, who is amazingly on time, sort of, this morning. She walked in as I was about to start my monologue, and that is Lisa Ann Weinbaum, the Law, as she likes to call herself, and the producer, J.P. Maxwell. Hi, J.P.
Good morning, everybody.
And also from home, Rick Henderson, who did all the bits and the clips. All right? He's a very valuable part of this show, and you should hear some of his ideas, and we'll see someday if they come true. Anyways, do you realize that 47% or 42% of these people are damaged, and 57% take drugs, and there's a lot of suicides, and there's a lot of miserable kids that are locked up in schools or locked out of schools or forced to wear masks. Shouldn't happen. Should not happen. New York Times and the Washington Post has awarded the Bottomless Pinocchio Award to Joe Biden. All right? And Biden is lying again, according to the New York Times. CNN is giving him hell. Where were these people earlier? Where were they during the election? Where were they after the election? All right? In Florida, DeSantis. Did you write something to the rabbi?
He has the invite, so we're just waiting for him to show up.
Oh, don't do that. Get on that thing and say, "Well, you're supposed to be on." How about that? You got to be a little tougher with these people.
Yeah.
They have an appointment.
Yeah, and he hasn't seen the message yet, so.
Well, what is the message? And you? We are ready for you. Get your butt online. How about that? Look, people forget. We're human, right, honey?
Some of us.
Yeah, in other words, I'm not.
What?
I know. But the rabbi had to change his time. He is a very, very religious man, and as you know, the time has changed, And so now it's coming up on the Sabbath in Israel, where he's calling from, and therefore he needs to. I had to switch times with JJ and him, so I had to take special effort to accommodate him, and here he is not responding. I hope he's okay. That could be too, So
yeah, that one time he didn't show up, and it's because he ended up cutting his finger that time, or his thumb or whatever, and was bleeding all over the place. I had to take him to the ER and all that, and he missed the show. That's been probably about a year ago now.
I don't know. I don't know. Why would I forgive him for that? Bleeding? I once took a deposition. When I shave sometimes, and I try to get the hairs off of my ear. Do you realize that some men have to shave their ears? Okay.
Some men of a certain age have to shave their ears.
That wasn't necessary.
But
it's my birthday, and
it's a fact of life.
Look, as I told the audience last night or the other night when I was forced to introduce myself when I did not want to.
But what a nice little birthday surprise Pastor Pat and Patsy Sue had for you.
But you see, I was born on voting day. I was born on November the 8th. And it's not voting day every year. It's sort of like leap year. Therefore, I figure my age is not 74, I'm 47. Because I've had leap years when the election was not on my birthday. Does that make sense?
I don't think it works that way. Sorry.
No, I'm getting a lot of rejection today. The rabbi, you, my wife. This is getting tough. Yeah, I know. And you're feeling sorry for me. I can tell.
I do feel really bad for you.
What BS? It's just BS time. All right. And speaking of BS, we got Florida DeSantis. That's not BS. Him and Marco Rubio are big winners. Huge, as Donald Trump would say. Well, he's not saying it right now. Lee Zeldin lost. I don't know what he could have done differently. Actually, there's a connection, I think, between Lee Zeldin losing and the Florida victories. I think a lot of New Yorkers who were sick and tired of the crap in New York have moved to Florida and voted there. And all of a sudden you got Miami-Dade, I think it is, Dade County. Miami-Dade turned for the Republican card. And I don't know if Liz is listening, but we ought to get her back on the show one of these days.
I heard a lot of discussion. They were talking about people that moved out of New York and California to states like Florida and Texas, and that's why you saw such a big uptick in Texas and Florida being even more red because of that influx of people.
Sure. So Florida, DeSantis, Marco Rubio, it was huge. And what he did was probably the smartest thing he could do, was he fired all those people who were cheating in elections. And he barely won the first time out. Trump helped him a lot, which he doesn't seem to want to acknowledge, and Trump is a little pissed about it. Trump sees a thing coming up called, primaries. He's saying he's going to announce something on the 15th, and now all of a sudden the Republicans, I should say rhinos, but a lot of other people are coming out and saying his timing is awful, blah, 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 and, they're mad at Trump for some reason. They're always mad at Trump for something, and I think personally what it is that they have been sold out. They have sold out to the crew that thinks these elections are honest. If they're so honest, why can't they get votes right now out of Maricopa County? Why can't they get votes right now out of Nevada? They had early votes, and they're not coming. All right, and Jeff Zink's going to talk about that today because he thought he was winning before in his congressional race in Maricopa County. Do we have any news on this? I don't know. Let's see what we got.
So right now they're claiming that 86% of the precincts in his District 3 is reporting, and it's got 82,000 for Gallego and only 20 roughly 25,000 for Jeff.
Well, how do you go from?
I highly doubt that.
How do you go from him thinking he's winning versus almost a 60-point difference?
Yep.
You know, we got to talk to him about that. You know, there's no doubt about that. That's huge. All right. So, and you got Carrie Lake. Let's see where she's at. She's still losing too. Yeah. And she's claiming it's 100% she's going to win.
Yep.
Well, how does that happen? The guy in Las Vegas says he's going to win. Well, he was ahead by 2. Now he's ahead by only 1. You know? So, and that's Lavelt or something? Or now Sisolak, go and see the race for the Joe Lombardo's going to win.
Yeah, they're saying Laxalt has, with about 90% reported, he's just at 49% of the vote. That's not great. I mean, somehow he was sure he was going to win again. And you've got, what about the governorship in Las Vegas? Lombardo? Yeah, this one here.
Yeah, where are you at?
Trying to get to pull up.
The governor?
Right now, it's only showing the vote for Laxalt. I can't get it to pull the results for the...
I just saw it. Yeah.
Make sure I've got it selected here.
There it is. No.
Right here. Yeah, it's still showing Laxalt winning Nevada right now with 90% of the precincts reporting. So
yeah, so this is what we got,
but by a slim margin. It's not much.
Well, it's at 94%. You know, it's no longer a slim margin. That's pretty damning, right there. Wait a minute. You got 82% reporting. 90% reporting. How do you have different? Oh, that's Kelly.
Yeah, that's the Arizona race here for U.S.
Right.
Senate, and then here's the Laxalt one there for Nevada.
Okay, so you're not showing the people that are behind them, though.
Yeah, it won't let me do it.
Oh, all right. Okay, J.D. Vance won. All right, but then we got the Herschel Walker thing. Herschel Walker is assuring us he's never lost an overtime in his life. Never once. Okay? So now he's saying, well, I'm not going to lose this one either. And I hope he's right. What's the guy who's running against? Warlock or?
Yeah, Warnock. Yeah.
Warlock. He's out there blasting Walker like terribly, just unconscionable nastiness, and I don't know what's happening there, but who knows? Anyhow, the FBI just invaded a house of the head of the UFO site. Now I wonder what that's about. Maybe is this guy conspiring with illegal aliens of the sort that are in space? Or, of course, it would be okay if he was doing it for the aliens on Earth, because that's allowed in this country. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with him, but all right. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get him on. Play a song.
Yeah, 1 second, Dave. You were talking to another rabbi? Sounds like you're cheating on me.
No, actually, I'm cheating with you on him because he was the first rabbi. Listen to this. I got rabbis fighting over me. This is kind of weird.
Mr. Unreliable, Mr.
I have good
undeniable that he's late for the show. What?
Dave, I have a good excuse.
You're pregnant.
No, close. I have COVID.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Well, take another 3 booster shots. Why don't you?
Yeah,
Jeez.
well, otherwise I'd probably be dead if I didn't have 3 boosters, but luckily I have them.
Okay. Well, I'm alive. I'm 74, by the way. Happy birthday to me. And I'm sorry to hear that. How serious is it?
Well, if I have an uncontrollable fit of coughing, you'll know why. But basically, I've had a lot of dry coughing and very lethargic, very tired, and some headaches. But this morning I couldn't stop coughing, so my wife was like, looked it up, and she goes, "I think you might have COVID." So I took the test, and boom.
You have a test in the house?
So yeah.
So what are you taking for it?
Right now, nothing. Just tea and ginger and.
All right. Here's some advice. I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to give you some advice.
Okay.
No, don't sing.
Ivermectin. I take it by the pill.
Well,
Ivermectin. The pandemic, it will chill. Ivermectin. I let it take its course. Ivermectin. Now I'm neighing like a horse. So did you call the...
That didn't help.
Did you... that's free, though. I mean, it's not costing you a penny for that. Did you talk to the doctor, your uncle or whoever he is, or your cousin, and say, what's going on with this? I thought I wasn't supposed to get this.
No, I don't have any cousins who are doctors, but no.
Okay.
But anyhow, I got it.
All right.
Been
did your kids? Did your kids all get it or?
No, I was guiding this week. I was on a bus filled. There was actually 5 buses, and every day a different bus, and a bunch of them got it. So I think that's where for sure that's where I got it. My kids have all had it. My wife has not, but we'll see. I hope she doesn't.
Gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, my wife and I had it together, and it was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
You had a lot of coughing and stuff too. Yeah. Severe
congestion.
congestion.
I threw up blood a little bit once, and that scared the hell out of me.
No, I have dry coughing. It's just dry coughing, and it gives me. This morning I could not stop. Just couldn't get.
Other than the vodka, now are you drinking a lot of water?
Water and fruit juices. That's just trying to stay high. Anyhow.
Right. Well, okay. Well, we'll go on until you can't do it no more. Are you okay to do this now?
Yeah, I'm okay. My voice will raspy, but
that's all right. I might have had it again. I had a raspy voice.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it depends on what the definition of is. So Zelensky wants to negotiate with Putin. If that happens, will Bibi get involved? He knows Putin, doesn't he?
Well, he definitely does, and he's a much better chess player than anyone who's been the prime minister since he's been out. So I think he'd probably be quite good at that, actually. And, right now, Ukraine is in a stronger position. And, the Russians had to retreat from a couple areas this week. So we'll see.
Now's the time, right? Now's the time to strike. 100,000 dead on both sides. I don't know how accurate that is, but wow. Yeah. Israelis, by the way, discovered the oldest known written prayer. Do you know what it said?
The oldest known what?
The oldest known written prayer. It was. It wasn't by Jews. The Canaanites.
Oh, is that the comb they found?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw.
Do you know what it said?
Yeah, well, it was a lice comb that they found, and think it was a prayer for health, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, yeah. But I think it said this: I pray they replace my cold soup, and they give me a big slice of cheesecake. Amen. Amen. All right.
Thanks.
No, yeah, it was on a comb. They had a comb that was, I guess, the specialty of it was to get these bugs out of your beard.
Yes, it was a lice comb to get the lice out. Exactly.
And this is right at the birth of Judaism, about 3,800 years ago, right?
It was all over. It was quite a find. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to make sure you were up to date on that. And speaking of cheesecake, let's do Mel Brooks for the rabbi. Cheer him up a little bit, okay? Can we do that, do you think?
Right.
We're going to cheer you up a little bit.
Cheese is a lovely story, how we get the word cheese in our vernacular. In the year 28 there was an old farmer, and a gentleman came to his land and said, "I'm so thirsty, may I have a little dipper milk?" And he said, "Certainly, go over to the barrel." He not knowing that the barrel of milk had soured, see? So this poor beggar man came to the barrel and opened up from the top and looked in and looked down and went, "Cheese!"
Now you didn't know that, I bet, did you?
Did you know Mel Brooks is 96 years old?
Yeah, yeah. Incredible.
Just had a
That is
incredible.
wow.
So girls in Iran, now things are going still out of control there, a lot. Girls in an Iran school are yelling at the female teacher when she tries to blame Israel for the deaths of students and protesters by Iranian forces. I thought that was pretty. These gals were brave.
Yeah.
These young kids are in school, for goodness sakes, and they're yelling at their female teacher. And the Iranians have been killing the protesters, right?
Yeah, that is a very significant thing. As Iran, their playbook is always to blame Israel, and the fact that these girls will not accept that's huge.
And they were screaming at the teacher.
Yeah.
I hope they survive that. My goodness.
Yeah.
So there might be. Of course, we had this hope before, back about 2011, I think it was. And they stomped it out, and the Obama administration, Obama-Biden administration, went along with the Iranian government. So
that's right.
What a shocker that is, huh?
Right. They backed protesters, but they didn't help at all.
Right. So Israel is to trade desalinated water with Arab allies for solar electronics, solar electricity.
Yeah.
How about you tap into this all this this oil and this gas, natural gas, and make a deal with the Biden administration and get some gas into this country?
Well, first of all, two things. Water has become a great bargaining chip for Israel with our Arab neighbors who are all, facing terrible droughts and an opportunity to use water in peace treaties. And gas, yes, we become an exporter of gas, natural gas. I don't know if the U.S. is going to become a customer, but also because of what's gone on in Ukraine, we've been able to export gas to the European countries that previously had been buying from Ukraine. But since Ukraine cannot export, so Israel replaced that. So, we are energy independent as far as gas for at least 50 more years.
Okay. That's great. And that's going to be a very valuable thing. Why can't they do the same thing, though? They don't have access to salt water?
Well, most of the countries don't have a shoreline.
Okay.
Right? And, that was the whole argument with Lebanon over the maritime borders and who would control the natural gas fields. But countries like Iraq, Iran, they're landlocked. They don't have a coast on the Mediterranean Sea. It's not an option.
Sorry. My wife is playing stuff out loud, and you don't know it's out loud? No, she doesn't know.
Well, we don't hear it here.
What is this today? This show is we're taking hits, and they're I don't blame you. I mean, you were sick, and it was tough. I get that. I said at the end of my my little bit of complaining about where's the rabbi and all this.
Well,
maybe there's something wrong, and there is. So I apologize for that.
I just saw a news flash across my screen.
Yes,
that the Twitter executive who censored the Hunter Biden scandal just resigned.
Yeah,
I just saw that. I guess he was forced to resign. But
let's just talk about these people for a while. You got rid of almost all these now, I hope. But these people were, in effect, in collusion with the government, in collusion with the DOJ, the FBI.
Pastor Pat.
They were, huh?
See, Pastor Pat just sent a message.
Oh, good. All right. She had a joint meeting, and she says, sounding great. I'm not sure about, she was talking about you, Rabbi, but okay. Because I know you're under the weather. Do you have to get off now? I mean, should I close it? Or huh?
I do, because of the Shabbat, and it's hard for me to talk.
All right, let's go. Let's end this. Let's do, other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and contribute?
They can go to IsraelAlliance.org or Facebook.com/Israel Alliance. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Rabbi, how do you make a spider roll?
How do you make a spider what?
How do you make a spider roll?
I give up.
Cut off its legs and... Oh, come on. Oh, I shouldn't have to beg for that. Everybody's punishing me today. Why? What did I do wrong?
Well, when birds fly south, they fly like in the shape of a V. You've seen that?
Yeah.
So on the left side of the V, there's more birds than on the right side. The left side, I'm saying it's longer than the right side.
Why is that?
Do you
You
know
got
why?
lookouts. Lookouts?
No, because there are more birds on the left side.
I don't get it.
The left side's longer because there are more birds there.
Sorry, Rabbi, I had to give you crickets on that one.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to have to. I'll be. You know what? I'll figure it out about one in the afternoon, and I will be laughing my butt off.
You can rewind it later and play it.
Rewind it too. More birds on the left
side. All right,
side.
bye, guys.
All right, thank you, Rabbi. I hope you recover. I'll pray for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and hi to the family. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Get well.
You do a show and you prep it, and you do the best you can. And okay, you got to expect things like this to happen. It's human that happens. Although all these people took the jab and they're getting sick, it doesn't make sense to me. Why is that? They were telling us. You have tapes of doctors telling us, tapes of politicians telling us, tapes of people like Chuck Todd threatening those of us who would not get the vaccine to do damage to us. And here it is. They're saying that you take one of these vaccines and you're done. Dr. Mark Siegel said that. Okay? And he's never apologized for it, and he ought to. I like the guy. My doctor's telling me this, okay? And it's ridiculous. Now Mark Siegel is saying, you know what? Everybody's had it. Just go on with your lives as if nothing happened. Well, a lot happened during this shutdown and during the crap where people got fired.
Mm-hmm. I think I recall us having that same opinion for the longest time, and now all of a sudden they're saying the same thing. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that interesting? Interesting being a person who has said a lot of stuff in the past that was not in the common approval area, and in fact was jailable at times, and in fact is still jailable to you could have your house raided if you keep on saying the elections were fixed in 2020.
I'll never forget when COVID started. My wife is a 20-year RN.
Yeah.
They started with these safety protocols. And she said, they're not following medical science. This makes no sense. That's when I knew it was a farce, because she wouldn't have said that if she didn't truly believe that.
Right. And having some idiot stand up there and say to us, science. You got to listen to me because I'm science. Yeah. Yeah. Who's that?
Blockhead. Oh, I mean Dr. Fauci?
Yeah, Dr. Fauci's saying that. I'm science. Whatever I say is scientifically based.
And he can try to deny he said it, but it's all over the place. I mean, we heard him. Millions of Americans heard him make that exact statement.
How many deaths are you responsible for? What? You don't know? Huh? Should I break him on here? I don't know. I better not. No, that's wrong. I shouldn't do that. But it ticks me off. And it ticks me off that a lot of smart people believed that. All right? And I got 3 of them on the show today who believe that. Now at least 2 of them are getting a little bit at least one of them that I know is saying, well, you know what? You did a lot of work on this, and it showed. And a lot of stuff you said back then, we're finding out is true now. And these people are much smarter than I am, okay? If you put them in their field of degree of excellence in terms of being a PhD, being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer, a professor, you would think, and I used to think this too, why would I even want to argue with somebody like that? Because they're smarter than I am. That's what I thought about myself. And, I think that's a mistake a lot of us make, is that we think too little of ourselves. We think because we're not geniuses or whatever, like others we suppose who are geniuses, who really are educated dummies in a lot of areas. They're really not smart in some areas. They cannot take what they learned in science and learned from becoming a doctor, from becoming a lawyer. They don't really understand what they're doing because they're not alert enough to understand that you got to keep on pursuing what you're doing. You don't tell me, a complete idiot on being a doctor, that you know something is in the New England Journal of Medicine, and I know everything in the New England Journal of Medicine, then find out the guy doesn't know what the hell the VAERS report is that I know, and now he knows, is in the New England Journal of Medicine. You can't trust anybody. You got to do a lot of the work yourself. I know JP does it, and I know his wife does it. My wife does it. And we come to our own conclusions. We're not going to be suckers for anybody. And a lot of the people, sadly, have given into this.
The best way I can kind of explain it for myself is when all this was coming out about the vaccine and they were trying to make it mandatory and all that, I couldn't get what we would basically describe as a spiritual peace that I needed to go ahead and get the shot. I felt the exact opposite. Anytime I thought about just getting it, I did not have any kind of peace whatsoever, and so I did the opposite.
Well,
that's where the peace was for me.
Isn't that interesting? Because a lot of what you're saying is in the Constitution. It's illegal to do that.
Right. Imagine that.
It is non-constitutional. Yep. Do you ever get the feeling, and I'm going to ask Elad this question, do you ever get the feeling that we're all fighting over crumbs in our lives? We're all fighting over these little battles and things like that, and there's some kind of a group out there that's a universal group that has multi-billionaires who think they have the solution to everything, and they're going to somehow control via governments that we're scrambling over our own government right now, and other world, whoever they can convince in the world to come join them, to get rid of populations, to control populations via pandemics, via abortion, things like that.
I'm not going to lie, I've had that thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're just piping off our mouths here, and we're not going to be effective. I believe we are effective. But I think that's our fight. It's not just with each other. It's with schmucks like Bill Gates, for example, who has come out and said we need to control the populations, and he's very much involved in these vaccines.
Yep. There's a great movie, Bug's Life. It's old. It's made back in the mid-'90s. It's about grasshoppers, a few of them, and they control this whole ant population, make all the ants do all the work for them.
Yeah, I remember this.
And the grasshopper even says, I won't get it exactly right, but the idea is we have to keep breaking them because there's a lot more of them. They outnumber us 100 to 1, and if they ever realize that, our way of life is over. That's exactly what's playing out in our country right now.
And if you stand out in a crowd, like I did in Vegas, I stood out in a crowd. I told the government, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm not going to take it. And when I started crossing that street, and this was not on my mind. My mind was, I'm going to cross the damn street. I wasn't concerned about everyone else at that moment. I was just pissed off myself. But me being pissed off got me into this situation where I just said, you know what, I'm going to do this because it bothered me. 1,000 people all of a sudden saw me, and I moved crowds, 500 on each side, let's call it, and they all crossed the street at the same time. Now, did I win an award? Did I win did they put me on their shoulders and carry me to the other side, which would have been appreciated because I am getting old, as you know? No, but it was amazing, and we have a star coming in the show. If you would like to grab a chair, sir, right on the end, and we had a handsome man in this room, and look at him. He's 254 years old. He's got a cane now, and I didn't know that.
It's for the knee replacement. Right?
All right, and we're gonna introduce you properly. We're gonna talk to you in a minute. Now I got to take a commercial break. You know why? Guess what? The rabbi's got COVID, and he was late calling.
But he showed up.
He showed up eventually, but he was coughing and he was miserable.
Better than you did.
Huh?
He still sounded better than you did that
well,
one week
okay.
when you were dying.
Well, we are capitalists, so I think we'll have to have a commercial break.
Yes, we should. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with the opening act for the Dave Weinbaum Show, John Jeffrey Bradshaw.
Honey, what are you doing?
What does it look like I'm doing?
It looks like you're filling up a swimming pool.
Yep, I'm filling up a swimming pool.
In our living room?
How else am I going to watch the game and stay cool?
If your AC is on the fritz, call Hartley's Climate Control. Hartley's is the area's best in HVAC repairs, installs, and maintenance. Knowledgeable, honest, and dependable. Serving Rolla and the surrounding areas for commercial or residential needs. Hartley's Climate Control. Community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned.
Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is two words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our number one goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
At your locally owned Price Chopper, our standards are high because we know yours are. See for yourself what an incredible fresh selection of grocery items we have in store. Talk to our expert meat associates about what you're looking for. They're happy to meet any special requests like custom cuts, or see our expert produce associates on how to pick out the best fruits and vegetables. Quality in the deli means fresh, full flavor, and always delicious. If you're craving fresh baked goodness, we have that too. You can expect the best selection and the best value while interacting with our friendly and knowledgeable employees. You can find what you're looking for fast and easily at the best prices at Price Chopper. Fresh savings every day. A-Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the number one sales volume in Phelps County. As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
At Town & Country Bank, we've got all the perks of a national bank, like online banking, quick loan approval, and you can deposit your check from your phone. But that's not why our customers love us. They love us because we still offer hometown customer service. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly team remind you how special hometown banking can be. We're locally owned and will take the time to understand your needs. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday. You got
mud on your face, you big disgrace, kicking your stuff all over the place, singing, we will rock you. Ladies and gentlemen, in studio is the opening act to the Dave Weinbaum Show, who has been the opening act for about 12 years. Wow. Well, this man, he was a little younger when he first started, but he's now 254 years old. And I say that, maybe I should say 254 years young, because he's got so much information under those mic hats.
than he did when he was a child in the Revolutionary War. That we come up here and want to get a sliver of that from this gentleman. Please welcome all the way from Rolla, Missouri, John Jeffrey Bradshaw. Hi, JJ.
Glad to hear that applause from Newburgh.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
You know, the last time you and I were in a studio together was KKID.
Yeah.
Forever ago. And you handed me Cardinals tickets.
Yeah, I know.
You remember that?
I do remember that,
We have a photo
actually.
of that somewhere.
Yeah.
You really like those,
I
too.
have a little thing up in front of me that said Phelps County Jail.
I don't remember. I'll have
no?
to look at that.
Maybe not.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember it either.
Let's talk about Veterans Day. That's today.
Yeah, this.
And you are a veteran.
I am.
Yes.
This used to be Armistice Day, and it was a celebration of the armistice that occurred in World War I, which happened 11/11. The actual peace documents weren't signed until many months after that. But Armistice Day was to celebrate the end of the war, to end all wars.
Right.
And then 1938, I think it was declared a national holiday, and it became Veterans Day in 1954 to honor all veterans.
And 3 years later, we're in another war.
Yeah, funny how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank our politicians for that.
Yeah.
Now, yesterday was the 247th birthday of the United States Marine Corps.
Is that the branch you were in?
No, I was in the Navy.
In the Navy? Okay.
The Marine Corps is a stepchild of the Navy. Just ask any Marine, they will tell you.
Well, the Marines usually regard you as your transportation
a bunch
to
of
go
squatters.
fight.
Yeah. The idea there is they go and fight, and we stay in a nice warm ship and eat well.
Yeah, you're like the bus drivers, you know.
It doesn't necessarily work
ship.
out that way.
Well, I know that. You know that.
But yeah, Semper Fi, happy birthday to the Marines. You did good.
Yeah.
Now, Veterans Day. This is widely celebrated in our country, even by the liberals. Of course, the liberals will take any federal holiday that they could get. We could call that Pick Up the Trash Day, and they would still celebrate it, which shows you the quality of liberals. But for us conservatives, those of us who are patriots, yay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's Veterans
Well, yeah,
Day.
thank you. You know, as I was saying, I'm named after both my father and my uncle were in the armed forces. My uncle, David Weinbaum, I'm named for him because he got killed 2 weeks before the end of the war, probably in France.
Mm-hmm.
And he and this was the story I got. He and a Christian were out there on a reconnaissance mission, and they got lost, and they got picked up by a couple of SS guys, and they shot my uncle in the head, and they let the other guy go because it was 2 weeks before the end of the war. So that was my namesake.
What a bummer. When I was getting ready to leave Vietnam, the big fear that everybody had was you're going to die on the last day.
Yeah. I would imagine that, yeah. Wow.
So, hooray for Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Florida for a minute.
Okay, let's do that.
Florida became the shining star in this last election.
Certainly did.
They showed how to do things right. Now let's look at the other side of that coin, Maricopa County, Arizona.
You know what we got coming on next?
Yeah, Jeff Zink.
Well, he's coming on at 10. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jeff Zink.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. I will be.
You can hang out all day if you like.
Oh, I have a wife that would like to have me back.
We're not going to kidnap you. Well, that could be. You know,
that's good because she would not pay the ransom. But Maricopa County, you know, they were shown in the 2020 elections to be possibly the most corrupt, inept voting situation in the United States of America. And one would think in 2 years, they had 2 years to fix this, and they went right back and did the same stupid things that they did before.
You know, it kind of makes you think it's intentional, don't you think?
Well, don't you think so?
Yeah, and Jeff Zink is he's going to be He's going to be the mother lode of information on this, having knowledge, in fact, running the forensic audit of Arizona, famous.
I can hardly wait.
And being a candidate in Maricopa County,
For Congress, yeah.
For U.S. Congress.
Yeah.
You know?
This is going to be good. But, Maricopa, they've been shown to the entire nation the degree of inept and corruption in 2020 and now again in 2022. And my bet, and I'm not a betting man, but I'll bet you a nickel, 2024 is going to be equally bad. They have no motivation to fix any of this.
I think the only thing that will change that is if Kari Lake ends up winning, which I think that she will, and hopefully maybe she can get it cleaned up by then. That's my hope.
It is my prayer. Indeed.
Well, she says she's 100% sure she's going to win. The first recount, this is all all these states, not all of them, but some of them now are into the pause period.
Yes.
It sounds like they're calculating how many votes they need to win, doesn't it?
And you can bet the printing presses are running.
Yeah. And the first return that we got after the pause, so to speak, was at 67%. Now it's at 70%. Shows Kari Lake losing by more. This is exactly what Jeff Zink said was going to happen to her. I want to find out what happened to him.
And the very thing that Katie Hobbs did not recuse herself from being over the election that she's in, if that was a conservative, that would not have been allowed to fly. There's no way.
Oh, the Democrats would have howled over that. Absolutely. And they are known to make a stink over the smallest of things. So there's clearly two things going on here.
Yeah.
If you are a Republican, you aren't squat. And if you're a Democrat, you're held in high esteem and given a pass on every single thing.
Well, let's put it this way. We know they cheat. We know we have some cheaters on our side, but we don't do it as a party. It's minimal on our side. But we know they cheat, and so what do? We have to have strategies to help us. This early voting thing, as pointed out by Jesse Waters, why do we do that? If they're going to have legal early voting, then why aren't we doing it now?
And why the vote by mail?
Okay, why the vote by mail? But if it's there, guess what? We got to use it too.
Well, yes.
In my opinion.
But we are Republicans, and we have been so stupid in this, so very stupid. The entrenched majority that are in power in the Republican Party, and that includes the RNC. Let's not leave those bozos out.
No, I agree.
So thoroughly corrupt. They want the status quo. Now, that was one of the things I was going to speak about as I was thinking about this on the way over here. We've got Mitch McConnell. Now, Mitch McConnell is a loser. He's been a loser for years. He is the entrenched Republican, power-hungry fellow. If you had a poster child for this thing, that would be him. If you look up entrenched power Republican Party in the dictionary, his little picture's out there in the margin. This guy needs to go. He needs to go in the worst sort of way. If you look at the young up-and-comers in the Republican Party that could have made a difference in this election, they never made it through the primaries. Why? Because they received no support from the RNC.
Or it was misplaced support.
It's equal. That's
sure. They give
thing.
some guy Thune, I think it was, $30 million. He won by like 60 votes, 60 points. 60% in South Dakota. Why would you give him any money and not give it to the guy in Vegas?
It's even worse than that, Dave, because the DNC was giving money to Republican candidates that they were pretty sure couldn't win the election. Try to get them through the primaries onto the ballot. And here's the Republican Party that should be up in arms over that and says nothing.
Well, they thought it was stupid. I thought it was stupid.
But
you know
well,
what? It worked.
It?
You know what? Well, let's pay attention to what we did. We had some positives. We had Florida. We're going to get the House, I think.
I think.
Okay. But but even that's not for sure. But it's looking awfully close. And we're going to get the House, and we're going to probably squeeze out maybe one advantage in the Senate. That's pretty good. That's taking the House and the Senate. It doesn't matter by how many you get.
I agree.
Although it would be a lot more satisfying if they got 56, like what's his name? Dick Morris said we were going to get 56 in the Senate.
Yeah,
and an overwhelming amount in the Congress.
And Newt Gingrich said the same thing.
Yeah,
we really stepped in it, Dave. As a party, we stepped in it. I think the wave was coming. I believed that right up until election eve. But, we talked about mail-in voting. Why do you think Fetterman won?
I had my monologue on that. I don't know.
It was the mail-in votes that, of course, don't get counted until Election Day. So he's got this sack of voters in his pocket. Yeah. Some of them voted even before that terrible, terrible debate with Dr. Oz. Now, frankly, Mehmet Oz was a carpetbagger, okay? He came to Pennsylvania and said, I'm going to be your next guy. Well, give me a break. The Pennsylvanians are going to vote for one of their own, and certainly not this clown that came from New York City and said, hey, I'm in Pennsylvania now, let me be your next senator. The Fetterman won that thing, because of mail-in voting, because he had this big sack.
And he went into hiding. It was a great maneuver.
It worked for him, didn't it? It worked.
And he came out, and if we had matched them, possibly, then maybe the early Republican vote would have discouraged a lot of them from voting for Fetterman.
And could have, yes.
But
didn't happen that way.
It didn't, right. So,
but I think our leadership, corrupt and power-hungry as they are, did us a very big disservice in this election. And I blame a lot of that on Mitch McConnell. Don't particularly like the man. He needs to go. We need a different speaker.
Maybe a lot of people that need to go.
Well, yeah.
Where was Rhonda McDaniels and people like that? They're supposed to be responsible for this.
Well, yeah. Did you see them politicking for any of these folks? What you saw was Republican ads, not nearly as many as the Democrat ads, not even close. They're keeping their money in their pocket, and we lost because of that.
Yeah.
Our message never got fully out there, but the Democrats sure did. Now, you and I have talked about the abortion issue, which was the standard bearer for the Democrats.
Right.
And the majority of the people in this country care about illegal immigration, the death of our economy, things that are important to the individual family in this country, not necessarily abortion.
Right.
But the Dems won on that.
Yes.
Why?
I know now.
Why?
Why? Because there's a lot of it has to do with the Democrats and single women.
Mm-hmm.
Single women love abortion. Married women do not. There's a differential.
Love motherhood. Yeah.
There's 31% of the population who love abortion. 31% of the female population, and then 67% that aren't crazy about it because they got families already.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so there's a big differentiation in that vote, and the Democrats play to abortion and play to those women that want it, and there's a lot of them, and I didn't think they were going to do that. I didn't think it was that important of an issue because
it's not.
Because they don't understand what happened. It's not that you can't get an abortion. It's that you can't get an abortion in some states, or it's more difficult in some states. And in plenty of states, you can get an abortion.
Yeah, which is a states'
it's a
rights
states' rights.
issue.
It's not a Supreme Court right.
Indeed.
It's not mentioned in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. I am very much anti-abortion, with two exceptions. I sincerely wish that Hillary Clinton's mother had aborted her. I sincerely wish that Nancy Pelosi's mother had.
Well, let me point that out. How many women out there actually contemplate what would have happened if their mother wanted an abortion? And maybe somebody would have made it difficult for that to happen, and not as easy as just walking into a Planned Parenthood place and getting an abortion. And it was them in the womb.
Indeed. We're arguing the same point.
Exactly
from
the
same
point.
side.
Exactly the same point. It's not just little men babies that get killed. It's half of them are little female babies.
And most of them are little black babies.
And a lot of them are little black babies. Why?
Well, because Planned Parenthood was initially founded as a way to control the black population.
Exactly. And yet most blacks
will get an abortion.
Support it.
Yeah, Margaret Sanger did a pretty good job selling that, didn't she?
Well, absolutely. But you have blacks like, Barack Obama.
There's another one that ought to have been aborted. I'm pretty sure he's a result of a leaky condom.
Come on.
It's a lot easier to say other people don't have a right to life when you were given the right to life yourself.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
right.
Yeah, I mean, let's get me up on the stand and talk about that. And, abortion for everybody. You got to think, what if that was you? They show these little babies trying to fight the instruments inside the womb.
Disgusting.
Yeah, and they want to kill them afterwards, too. They want to actually kill them after they're born.
And they want to make that legal. And the policy
it is legal,
of an
I think,
entire country.
In California.
You know, when we put this back to the states, Roe versus Wade got kicked out, was a great thing.
Yeah.
Now the states need to get on the stick and say, no, we're not going to do this.
Well, and if everybody remembers, right before the election, Lindsey Graham made that statement about we need to make anti-abortion a federal policy. I think that part came back to bite us pretty hard on that one. Because it's not a federal issue. It's a state issue. Leave it alone.
Yes.
You know what? I think the timing was awful. Because he also said we got to stop abortion, period.
Well,
and maybe that's true.
I mentioned Mitch McConnell. Lindsey Graham is another one that needs to quietly go away. Check into the nursing home, get out of politics, go away.
I don't know who's worthy. Let's talk about Donald Trump.
Yes.
All right, because he's getting a lot of trash talking lately. Because he's come out and said things about DeSantis and Florida and what really happened in Florida, blah, blah. Well, and he's also contemplating this big announcement, which we all know it to be,
Tuesday,
that he's going to commit to run to President of the House, to President of the United States of America again, and that he's an election denier. And they're claiming all the election deniers either lost or did very poorly.
Yeah, we're MAGA terrorists.
Maybe, yeah. Well, they've got us convinced. You know, and what I'm saying is that every time a narrative is used against Donald Trump, as it has been, whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. The compilation of all those up here is turning into a massive truth when it is based on one massive lie. All these things piled up by the liberals, and now by the rhinos and certain people out there who now want Donald Trump to shut up. They seem to forget that what we're in right now is the result of liberal cheating on elections.
Yep.
And it's and Donald Trump called it. And for my own personal investigation of this, he's right. There's no way that wasn't. You can go back to one incident and prove it.
I'm surprised that Donald Trump decided to beat up DeSantis.
So am I.
The two are running pretty parallel as far as beliefs are concerned. And I think Trump's advisors said, you need to beat this guy up a little bit because he's going to be the one running against you in the primary. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think DeSantis is, in his own mind, thinks he's ready for the White House. I could see him as a VP.
Yeah.
We'll see, won't we?
Well, we'll see. And you know what? I used to wonder about Trump. I used to wonder when he had these little names for Bush.
Yeah,
Was Jeb Bush.
And
you know,
Hillary.
And, Hillary for president and all that other stuff. I used to wonder about him. And then the one thing that turned my mind was when he was debating Ted Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting Ted Cruz, a distinguished lawyer who has tried and won 9 cases in front of the Supreme Court of the United States, just to clip his little red hair off. And it didn't happen.
Didn't do it, did he?
Donald Trump kicked his ass.
Mm-hmm.
All over the debate floor and looking for response from Cruz. There was none. There was nothing.
It makes you wonder.
Well, guess what?
Go ahead.
I think our time is about over.
Very well.
I've got my next. You're welcome to stay if you like.
I'll sit and watch for a few minutes.
All right.
It's been my pleasure.
Okay. Well, no, the pleasure is mine, sir. Always is mine. All right. We can fight later. Anyways, let's go. Let's do the song right now because there she is.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, New York to LA. Well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time to stand and say, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died who gave that right to me. And I'd gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, as my next guest is mouthing this great song, who she actually sang herself. Do you believe that?
I do.
Yeah. First of all, she is a bad boss expert, as my wife would say, an anti-Dave Weinbaum, right? You used to think I was a bad boss.
Yes.
Yes, she did.
That is correct.
Still married me. Wow. How about that?
Some of us are a little slow.
A reluctant political commentator. She's an author, motivational speaker, singer, star of TV and podcast. Please welcome the official shrink to Dave Weinbaum. I mean, the Dave Weinbaum Show. Dr. Amy Cooper Hakim. Hi, Dr. Amy. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, what do you see? Do you see me?
I do. I see you. I see all of you.
Okay, so you see all of you. I want to introduce you to John Jeffrey Bradshaw. You might have heard him once in a while. He's the opening star of the show.
My pleasure, Amy.
And he came in on his own he's 254 years old. Do you believe that? No, she doesn't believe it. All right. Well, okay. There's always you could have gone along with the joke, but that's all right. No matter. So, so the hurricane. Did you dodge another bullet down there?
Thankfully, it was really not bad. As a Floridian, hurricane level 2, category 2 or 1 is really not a big deal. This was a tropical storm / hurricane, so it's like 70, 75 miles an hour. And obviously, if you get hit, it's not great, but it's just like a lot of wind and rain. People were still going out and about. We hunkered down a bit, but thankfully it was fine. My in-laws live right on the ocean, and a big concern was something called storm surge, where the water goes up so high that it can flood buildings, and so they were evacuated. And there was a lot of devastation with this other storm. A bit ago, that was really serious, and it was pounding rain for long periods of time. This was very quick. I think it hit maybe an hour or so north of us, and we had some chairs that fell over outside and that kind of thing. But it wasn't. Thankfully, it was really not that bad.
So the events of the last, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, has been up and down, up and down. So is your range of emotions from 1 to 10 sort of like up and down too?
I mean, as we've discussed, I really focus on knowing that there are certain things in this world that I can control.
Yeah.
And so I will then choose to respond and react in a way that makes me feel more centered and grounded, despite whatever chaos is around. So yes, the TV sets were on, the election and all that, is going on around us, the results and such. And there's definitely some yelling from my counterpart at the TV. But
I'll bet.
It's so interesting because I think it's just so important for us to, own our truth and appreciate our own perspectives and try not to let whatever is going around us societally to impact the choices that we make at the polling station and then the results. It was, by the way, as a complete personal thing, it was super cool. Our 18-year-old went to vote with us first time. And and so it was neat. They had their clap for him in the voting station. And also something I found interesting that I thought you would appreciate is they asked us for ID when we were signing up. And so the woman who was working the polling station said that where she came from, they didn't ask for ID, but she was so happy that in Florida, she had to confirm that, in fact, I should be the person I am saying I am, it's when I voted. So,
well, you look too young.
My job.
You look too young, let's face it.
No.
You're there with your 18-year-old son and your husband, and you look too young.
My ID.
You should
keep going, Dave.
Yeah, there you go. No, I could see where you look very young. So, all right.
Thank you.
That's a compliment. It wasn't meant as a derogatory remark.
Oh, no,
so,
I love that. Anybody who wants to tell me I'm young can keep on talking to me. I'm going to be the best friend of mine.
So, when things, that's a good perspective, and it's easy to feel that way, but when you're seeing what's going on in the country, how do you reflect on that? I mean, is it just, you can't control it, so you just got to go on with your life kind of thing, or do you take it and also fight back somehow?
Well,
when do you know it's time to fight back?
Our own way, right? So the way you fight back is by doing what you're doing and making such an impact on your listeners and so or viewers. And I think that we have to recognize our role and our strength. And personally, from a political standpoint, I don't know how much I can do except to encourage people to vote and to have an open mind and to not vote based on what the populace might say, but to be that other half. When you have an opinion, it's always going to be that some people are going to love it, and then half of the other people are going to hate it anyway, right? So we should be true to who we are. And I do wish that the world could get back to a place where we could have our own opinions and not be afraid to share them for fear of who we're around. But it's something that I know I might be in the minority, but I've been particularly struck by the negative.
Hold on a second. Is there a cricket in your house, or are these guys giving me crickets? Huh? Next.
You should just let me talk.
I know, but crickets are a big issue on my show, and I go from 10 to 1 when there are crickets sounding after one of my jokes. That's a big go do your crickets. My crickets are louder than your cricket. Sounds like we're playing an English sport here, cricket, right? Anyway, sorry about that, but I kept hearing this cricket in my head, and I'm saying, is that from us or from her? Yeah, act innocent. That's right. Okay, so what were we talking about? Do you remember?
Yeah, I actually do, because I thought it was something that would be important to talk about and get your perspective on, and it is political in nature, but not in the same way, in that deep level, perhaps that you might have with some of your other guests. But I know that you are big Trump supporters on this show, and I'm curious what's going to happen with the presidential election. And who will run, and if he'll run, and if that will get the support that it needs. But it's interesting because where I live in Florida, we have a very good potential candidate, and I found it particularly interesting that instead of using our strengths and helping to build and lift one another up, the tactic is always to push others down.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that's as effective. And I'm curious to see how it'll play out. And I think sometimes, how much happier would we be? And perhaps how much happier would Trump be if instead of always trying to push others down, he said, wow, I have this charismatic, magnetic personality, and I can attract whomever I wish. So I'm going to help people who want to ride with me, not only those who I like exactly, but perhaps those who I might disagree with a bit. And he's an excellent leader from a business standpoint, and from his the whole way he's run his operation, which is why I voted for him, because someone who can run a business as an effective leader would then likely be able to run our country as an effective leader. So I'm all for. I mean, I jumped on the Trump bandwagon. I didn't always appreciate some of the way that he spoke to others or shared his messages, but I think overall he was a very effective leader. But one thing that I don't like, and I don't think he's learned through his time, is that sometimes it's not always necessary to push people down in order to help me rise up. I can rise up, and those who are also worthy might rise up as well. And I really am curious how that's going to affect the voters who really need to help us to get away from, the craziness that our country is right now. And we would be in an even worse place if it wasn't off of the coattails of Trump.
That is the longest question I have ever had in my life.
Well,
Thank you so much.
And
I'm wondering how am I going to
Dave.
answer this? My answer is that Trump is a peculiar guy. He speaks off the top of his mind a lot, and a lot of it is in my opinion not helpful, not good. However, that being said, he has an ability that no president has had in my lifetime, certainly not even in John Jeffrey Bradshaw's lifetime, and he's 254 years old. So go back to Washington. You have Washington, and maybe a couple others were competitive, but then you had Trump, and in between you had decent and undecent people be president. He had about the best presidency and results, even in the light of a
100%.
Pandemic, and he was America first. Okay, so
and I think he was also anti-establishment in general, which is
anti-establishment in general.
Right.
But and to your point, he's a businessman. He knows what it's like to sign the bottom of a check and not get a check, and he knows what hard work is, and he's not afraid to deal with other people on a foreign basis, and they have the right.
And he did so much good. But my only question is, does it have to be the bright lights and the attention-seeking behavior in order to make him good, or can his actual actions and the things he's delivered for our country help to speak to why he should be reelected again, or why someone, you know what I mean? So I
understand your point.
That caustic, satire, negative vibe really, really down. It's like it makes me feel uncomfortable, and
it doesn't do a lot for me either.
Ticket, I wouldn't vote for him.
But to completely annihilate this guy, as some Republicans are saying they ought to happen, what did they forget about what's happening right now in our country? What are they forgetting? What we had before? The contrast what we had before under Trump's leadership versus what's happening now.
100%.
What would you take?
Actually, some people who voted for Biden would likely vote for Trump because of what's happened to our country. But I'm just saying that perhaps some who may be a bit more sensitive, who may be a bit more politically correct, who may be a bit more less interested in politics and more interested in the overall persona or look or presidential appearance of someone, they may say, gosh, has he not learned his lesson yet? And the answer is, I'm answering my own question, right? He is who he is. And that's part of his charm.
Okay, well, that's basically what I said.
I didn't vote for him the first time because of his charm. I actually find him to be offensive and someone I don't like to watch or look at.
Right.
I like what he can do, but I never watched his TV show.
So would you support him now?
What?
Would you, after knowing all that, would you support him now?
Sure would.
Okay, well, you've got we agree then. Because, I don't like some of the things he says.
I don't necessarily know that he should run. I think that he may be, at the point where he's aged himself out of the process. And I know I'm in the minority to say something like that. But I think that it will depend on, he'd have to make sure he's able to make those decisions. Like if you look at someone like Biden should not be in office.
Well, that's who he's going to be against, though.
So,
according to right now.
Then we have to just hope that his VP, running mate is strong.
DeSantis is a vice president. I think
that, but he's being so negative and caustic toward DeSantis, and that's actually where I was going without saying his name.
But you got to understand.
Him.
If you go back to the primaries of the Democrats, what did Kamala say about Biden? He's a total racist. Okay, that's part of the
maybe
politics.
Everyone will pair together, but to me, I would be upset if I were DeSantis to say I'm not going to take this battering, and then not be able to. I don't know. I think we should be more about relationship building. It doesn't mean not to stand on our principles. It doesn't mean not to have our own perspectives and say things that are not going to necessarily be well received by others, or say those things that others are afraid to say. I think that's all beautiful and important. And I think Trump does that very well. I just wish it could be a little softer. And I wish I think that might help to include more people who are on the outliers, who are not necessarily going to vote, or who would be those closet voters.
Well, by wanting that kind of perfection, you may be deleting or degrading some of the amazing things that he's done. And I'll take. I mean, look at George Patton. Here's an example of a guy who couldn't shut his mouth. Okay, however, he was the best general possibly in history of America. Okay, because he got it done, and he got it done now. Okay, and he said how many American lives? How many American lives did he save? But he had a loud mouth, and he was always blaming this and that. And he said right after the war, let's go to Russia. Okay, everybody's, how can you say that? He was probably right. Okay, I mean, so he said what he thought.
I just wish that he could be a bit more subdued, not to stop any of the performance, any of the actions that he has done that are so effective as a leader, but just to be a little bit more presidential, a little bit more respectful in his tone, things where I would not be embarrassed or uncomfortable for a young child to listen to or witness. That's just what I wish, and I'm sorry that still hasn't happened. And the reality is, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? He is who he is, and that's part of the charm that helps to create that magnetism that makes people want to run to the polls and vote for him. So, it doesn't mean I'm going to change my angle. And definitely, I think that the way the country is now, I think we're going to have people who voted Democrat who are going to vote for any Republican who is on the ticket. But it would make me feel happier in my heart.
Oh.
If he would just.
Okay, well, I'll call him up and I'll talk to him and I'll say, Dr. Amy, who happens to live in Florida, that could be the end of the conversation right there. She's your neighbor, though, in Florida. And I'll just say, could you just lighten it up a little bit? You didn't need to
would
do
you please do that? And then also, could I please go visit him and have a meal with him?
After I tell him that, he might diss me then. I talked to.
I should be his advisor, not his political advisor, but his relationship advisor.
Well, it's interesting because I have one of his advisors on my show often. That's Dick Morris. I don't know if you know who he is, but that's his buddy. He says he lives in Trump Towers. He's the only guy in New York that likes his landlord. So that's Dick Morris. And so I get a lot of information from Morris about that kind of stuff. He was too busy to do this show. But yeah, I mean, look, I understand that. Now, I also understand that he knows he's going to be facing challenges. He's got Pompeo out there, maybe even Vice President Pence. Could be out there running against him. He's got all sorts of pressures, and he's saying to himself, I got to attack first. Usually he's a responder. not a guy that strikes first, but he's doing it
he
now.
was unnecessarily attacked. I mean, I really do. I think that they were out to get him before he even was
well, of
in
course.
office. So, yeah, but even that. So take Pence, right? The fact is that they ran together an effective operation, and to not be able to keep someone on your ticket for part due, there's something about the relationship. You can't just be so powerful, all-knowing, the only person, and then anybody who doesn't agree or do exactly as you wish, you're going to push them to the side. That's just not. It doesn't bode well. And I appreciate and respect their major, scuffles that they had, and the fact that they wouldn't want to work together again. Okay, that happens. But we can't always just dismiss people we don't like. That is not the way the world works. That might be the way someone rich and powerful.
I'm not sure that isn't the way the world works, because Trump had it out with Cruz. They hated each other. Okay? Cruz went on after the election hating him. Now all of a sudden they're buddies. And the same thing with, who's your senator out there? Marco Rubio. Same thing. And now they're fine. Okay? Now what happened between him?
But the question is, are they fine, or did they just acquiesce?
I think they're fine.
They just say, I'm going to...
I think they're fine. After what Cruz said about the elections and all the riots that went on, and the 1-6 committee, he was more than defending Donald Trump. So I mean, this comes and goes in politics.
I hear you,
to a certain extent.
That's the reason, Dave, that I don't like to talk about it.
I know.
Because to me, I'm a realistic individual, but I also, trend positive, right? I appreciate and look for the good. I make the decision that I'm going to be happy each and every day. We talk about that each time I'm on the show, right? That's me. So you take that, and then you look at the doom and gloom of politics, and you see all the backstabbing and the nastiness. And the question is, how does the normal person, the person who isn't involved in the everyday, the person who doesn't understand or appreciate these crazy ups and downs of political dialogue and rhetoric and all this stuff, how does that person come to the polls and with a conscience vote? And so I know how I'm voting, and I literally vote down the Republican ticket. That's just what I do. I come with my sheet. I don't know all the names of everybody. I know what I'm supposed to do, and I do it because I believe enough in the party and that's it. But sometimes I say, gosh, I wonder what's going on behind the scenes with this individual or that.
Yeah, right.
But I'm still going to make that choice because I want to help to do my part as a citizen of this country. Yeah. And so similarly, somebody who is pro-Democrat should have that same right. And that's the beauty of living in a democracy. Great. But I'm just asking how and when we can perhaps create a little bit more softness or humanity, put that back insert that into this political rhetoric, because I think it would help us to want to engage more. People like me who aren't so knowledgeable.
Donald Trump should be calling the show very shortly, because I think he ought to get involved and say what he's doing. Donald Trump, in case you don't know, but you probably do, 573-578-2700. Give me a call and explain to my PhD, wonderful person, young-looking woman, explain to her what you're doing, okay? Because I don't know either, quite frankly. But then again, I look at the results. I backed you all the way in the last election. I understand what you're doing in terms of the elections that were cheated, and I totally agree with you on that. And there's ample proof. You know it, and I know it. And I know that you've been subject to the worst 7 years of conniving, of conspiracy against you and your family that's ever happened, and still came in with the results you did as president. I mean, all I can do is sit back and say, wow, we don't want to lose this guy.
And beyond, though, Dave, thank you, right? Because he didn't need this job.
Exactly.
He didn't need this. And that, to me, speaks volumes about character and the ego and the...
His heart is in the right place. His heart is in the right place. He loves America.
100%.
And
I think he's probably a teddy bear, right? Like inside.
I think he's. I don't know if he's a teddy bear or not.
I think so.
He's got. I like the
hope.
guy. I mean, I'm a businessman, okay, and I'd love to argue with the guy sometime. I actually had an exchange with him once when he was giving a speech in CPAC, and he was the sideshow. This was 2013 or 14. 2013 or 14 was CPAC when I said something to Trump.
2013.
2013. My wife was there as my girlfriend then, and we're sitting there, and Trump's talking, about maybe 150, 200 people there. Imagine that in a Trump speech, and he's talking about Romney, and he says, "You know what? I back Romney. I don't know what happened. What happened to this guy? How did he lose? How did he?" And finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. I said, "Because he laid down in the last 2 debates." He looked over at me. He says, "Well, yeah, that could be." From that day on, I take responsibility, a certain amount of responsibility for him being now obnoxious to people who are running for office. That's my fault. Me bad. I don't think I got the time to explain to him that this was just Romney and not everyone else. You see? So he's suspicious of everybody now.
I hear you. The all-powerful Dave.
Yes, you don't have to. Well, that is a true story. I mean, I embellished a little bit about what could have happened, but it did affect him. I could tell. Could you tell that, honey?
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure he heard everything you said.
Shut her mic off.
I mean, you did get to say
okay,
that.
I have to do one more thing. Rotate the tires.
No.
All right. I don't know if I should do this in front of you. That's wrong.
No, you got to tell me.
All right. Go ahead and do it. She's that tickles. No. All right, let's do basketball. I lost my nuts.
I just drop it.
Damn. We gotta go straight to the basketball now. I think my nuts just dropped off. Whoa, man, that hurt. All right, don't get excited. It was the lug nuts. Okay. All right, yes, I know I disappointed you. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you? Well, we did a whole political deal, and it was your choice.
Oh, thank you. See, I know. I knew you would be excited.
I am excited.
I have to talk to Dave about this.
Yes, no, it's great, and I hope we can. I hope we can do this again. And I'm not going to bring it up because I know when I bring it up, you get mad. I know. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find you and buy your book and all that?
So you can find me at CooperStrategicGroup.com, AmyCooperHakim.com. My book, Working with Difficult People, is sold anywhere books are sold, ebook and audio format as well. And I'm on all the social media sites: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Amy Cooper Hakim.
You love social media.
I love it so much.
How do you love it? How do you love it now that Elon Musk is there on Twitter?
I'm curious to see what he does with it.
Yeah. That's it. Huh?
That's it.
Okay. How do you know? One more thing. One more thing.
I have nothing more to share.
One more thing. You're going to share this. One more thing. I'm going to share this with you. How do you know a plumber is embarrassed?
How?
He's flushed. All right. Okay. It ended well, right?
It ended well.
Shabbat shalom, and we'll see the worst half here in a little while. Bye-bye. Bye, Amy. Okay, that's great. Thank you. All right, so wow, I'm getting exhausted again. I'm not exhausted. I feel pretty good, actually.
For a non-political woman, she made a pretty damn good political argument.
I know. Well, she's very touchy about that. Very touchy about it. And I didn't want to I try not to ask leading questions into it, but, just say, how do you feel about the way things are going right now? I opened the door for her, and she went right through it. Mm-hmm. So Of course, that was the longest question I ever had in my life, I think.
Not bad.
But I thought I answered it decently. And I wonder about things like Trump and that, because he seemed generally surprised. Why would you be surprised? See, I was listening to the debates, and apparently he wasn't listening to Romney debates against Barack Obama. That's who he was referring to, And I was sitting there yelling at the TV, "Come on, what are you doing? How come you're laying down in front of this guy?" Donald Trump, if you notice, never lays down for anybody.
Oh, no.
Nobody does he lay down for. And so, go ahead.
And I think that's why he spoke very quickly about DeSantis after the win, because he's still trying to make the point that he's trying to show he's still the right candidate for right now. And I think he still is. I love DeSantis. Yeah. Give him more years in 2028, if he keeps going the way he is being Florida governor, he's going to have such a record to stand on. Nobody can touch him. But Trump's still the guy right now. He's the only one that's going to go in there and get the job done.
Trump was mad that DeSantis didn't, sort of give a bow to the king and thank you for your help kind of thing. And I said, well, I'll support you he wants him to support, Trump wants him to support him right now because he supported DeSantis, and I understand that. It's a loyalty factor. You want that. Your mom says, the official pastor to the Dave Weinbaum Show, she says, I totally agree with you, Dave, about Trump. I've preached that very thing from my pulpit. It's part of the gifting, just like Patton, the same anointing, as I call it. That's the way to deal with those people who have that kind of spirit driving them. It makes them jump back and blink their eyes very rapidly. I have to do that with what I call religious spirits that want to just cause chaos and destruction. He sure makes them take a step or two back. Yeah, all right. Yeah, he does. And, he does that to me too sometimes with what he says. But I've learned that, if you take a long look at somebody, if you take a real honest long look like, I did with my wife. I judged her and, not everything was perfect, but I said to myself, she's really a good person. She's really a good woman.
How do we get from Trump to me?
And she would make a wonderful wife. And here I am now, rotating. She's rotating my tires and whipping me. It's terrible.
Pretty much.
Yeah. No. Yeah. See, there you go. No, but you got to lay back a little bit. And I used to react a lot quicker than I do now, and it's not because I don't want to. It's that I think over time you can have decisions made by being honest that may be disagreed with at the moment. But as time wears on and you continue to show the evidence that you have of why you said something, that a lot more people will agree. So, Trump is not going to stay silent. That's for sure. And we're going to learn more. So I would say the people that are now telling Trump to shut up, just be patient, please. Okay? All right. You got any more information on the elections?
No change right now.
All right. So we got Jeff Zink coming on in, 12 minutes, right? All right. Well, let's do another. Let's do some clips. Man, we haven't done that in a while. What do we got here? Let's do 2 and 3.
The Senate is still in play. There was no red wave in the Senate. The only way Republicans win the Senate at this point is if they win Nevada, where Republican Adam Laxalt is ahead by about 23,000 votes. It looks good there, but we still don't know. But that makes me a little nervous since Clark County, meaning Las Vegas, will be counting, they say, for days. So it looks like, again, this comes down to a runoff in Georgia. That'll be in December. Walker and Warnock did not hit 50%.
Yeah, from the movie.
A lot of that has to do with the Libertarian candidate you've never heard of. Thank you, Chase Oliver, who ate up 2% of the vote. And made it that much harder for either candidate to hit 50. What a spoiler. Ron Johnson was the winner in Wisconsin. Ted Budd was the winner in North Carolina. Rubio won his race in Florida big time. Congratulations. But Dr. Oz lost to John Fetterman by 200,000 votes. Abortion played a big role in Pennsylvania. It was top of mind for voters, as the press secretary would say. And Republican voters didn't seem to trust Dr. Oz. And after that bruising primary battle, he wasn't able to pull it together. He was a Trump pick, so that hurts. And Mitch McConnell dropped about almost 60 million in Pennsylvania helping Oz. And that hurts too. The Republican candidate for governor in Pennsylvania got blown out, and that also really hurt Oz. But the people of Pennsylvania, they wanted Fetterman, and they're going to get John Fetterman for 6 years.
I'm Chance, the gardener.
The gardener?
Yes. Since I was a child, I worked in this garden.
Then you really are a gardener?
Oh, yes.
May I ask your name?
Chancey Gardner.
Mr. Chancey Gardner. Are you related to Basil and Perdita Gardner?
No, I'm not related to Basil and Perdita.
Gobbledygook.
You know, Chauncey, there's something about you. You don't play games with words to protect yourself.
Had no brains at all. Was stuffed with rice pudding between the ears. Dumb as a jackass.
As long as the roots are not severed, all is well. And all will be well in the garden.
In the garden? Coffin, I'll leave some information on Mr. Chauncey Gardner's background. What do you mean he's got no background? That's impossible.
Listen to that boy.
Mr. Gardner, the New York Times spoke of your peculiar brand of optimism. What was your reaction to that?
I do not know what it means.
Oh, he was very clever, keeping it at a third grade level. That's what they understand. He's very, very sexy. But I think he's brilliant.
I raised that boy.
It's always somewhat surprising to find men like yourself working so intimately with the president and yet somehow managing to remain relatively unknown. Yes, it is surprising.
And look at him now.
I can't write.
I heard he speaks 8 languages.
I can't read. I like to watch TV.
All you gotta be is white in America to get whatever you want.
I understand.
Being there, made in the USA.
Now, I liked a lot of things about this clip. This was a movie out in 1979. And who was that? Who was that representative of right now? I think it's John Fetterman. I mean, the guy has no knowledge of anything. He didn't do anything till he was like 50 years old, and then he became a mayor of a town. He's living off his old man, and didn't do a great job there. And now all of a sudden, he gets into a debate, and it's gobbledygook. Yeah, I know he had his strokes, but it just, and now they're talking about him for president. I mean, actually, seriously, what was her name? Katie Tur?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he ought to be considered for president. Yeah. He's a total dope. He contradicted himself ridiculously amount of times during that debate with Dr. Oz. He's not physically or mentally capable of doing it, but then again, that's what we have as president. Go figure. Okay, go figure. And if they put a D by his name under the present voting conditions, he probably could get elected president, if you think about it. All right, let's do commercial. We'll be right back with Jeff Zink, AZ Audit, Arizona Maricopa County candidate, and an eyewitness to 1-6. Hit it.
With warmer temperatures right around the corner and allergies ramping up, now's the time to get those AC units serviced. At Hartley's, we pride ourselves in offering outstanding service with fast response times. With proper maintenance, you can make those hot days be a lot cooler and remove those pesky allergens that always seem to find their way into your home. Call us today so you can be living a much cooler and healthier life. Hartley's, community born, community raised, community serving.
Call Hartley's Climate Control today at 573-368-3163.
Kent's Jewelry does custom engravings for almost anything. Awards, signs, guns, swords, mugs, yetis, and knives. Kent is the premier custom jeweler in mid-Missouri. We have a great staff, the technology, and equipment to create what you dream for, jewelry and engraving. Kent's Jewelry, 907 North Pine, downtown Rolla, 573-364-1030. That's 573-364-1030. Locally owned. Never be too coy to tell your friends and family about koi sushi and hibachi. Celebrate the best Chinese-Japanese restaurant in the Midwest. Call 573-426-5551 to make a reservation or order takeout. Locally owned, 1808 North Bishop, Rolla, Missouri.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy, but also juicy and tender. Okay, it's crispy, juicy, tender. All one word. But then, also pickle. Oh, and potato bun, which is 2 words. Okay, we can't sum up our new crispy chicken sandwich in one word, so you'll just have to try it to understand it. Order ahead on the McDonald's app at participating McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Merrill's Quarry and Asphalt, 40 years serving cities, counties, and everyday businesses with driveways for people who live and work in our little piece of heaven right smack dab in the middle of America. Call 573-578-9101 for your free estimate of rocking, rolling, paving, driveways, sealing, and striping, too. That's 573-578-9101 for your free estimate.
Your home is your castle. You don't need unwanted hassle. Don't let those creatures move in to stay. Let us protect your investments. That's what we're all about. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day. Plank is locally owned and family operated right here in Rolla, a Google preferred business. Our customer service and your satisfaction is our #1 goal. So call Plank today at 368-3333. Plank Termite and Pest Control will save the day.
Busy schedule? Let your locally owned Price Chopper help you save time with online shopping. It's easy. Sign up to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app in the App Store or Google Play. Create an account and browse through the categories and choose the items you need. When you place your order, your personal shopper will get all of the items you've selected, taking the same care you would and following your notes. We offer free curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Start your online order today and no online shopping fee for a limited time. Go to tcmarkets.com or download our mobile app to get started. Price Chopper. Fresher savings every day. Car Real Estate, where experience matters. 532 million sold since 2003, the #1 sales volume in Phelps County.
As a client for decades, I can say they are the best in mid-Missouri. Call 573-368-7355. That's 573-368-7355 for the best real estate experience you'll ever have.
At Town & Country Bank, we are committed to providing exceptional service to our customers. We do more than just provide loans for our community. We help make dreams become reality. Whether it's a new home, farm, business, or a new car, we would love the opportunity to help. Stop by one of our 2 Rolla locations and let our friendly lending team remind you how special hometown banking can be. Smart, friendly solutions. Town & Country Bank. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
My daddy served in the army. We lost his right eye, but he flew a flag out in our yard. Till the day that he died, he wanted my mother, my brother, my sister, and me to grow up and live happy in the land.
Ladies and gentlemen, kinesiologist, Division I football player and basketball referee, ordained pastor, and the go-to guy on the Arizona audit and politics, please welcome all the way from Maricopa County, Jeff Zink. I know I cut your song a little bit because for some reason there you go, think Zink right there. All right.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
I can't hear y'all at all. I have no sound.
He has no sound. What's going on?
Not sure.
Huh? Okay. Adjust it a little bit and anything.
I heard the commercials, but I couldn't hear the sound. After y'all went live, I can't hear y'all.
Okay. Call 573-578-2700.
Okay, let me do that.
Did you hear that? Well, if you heard that, wait, put this by the camera.
I'll send him a text, actually.
All right. Wonder what happened.
I sent him a text to rejoin.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be working. We're on, so, yeah.
All right. Well, did he hear that? It looks like he was responding to me saying stuff.
We'll see.
People are fooling around with this show. Stop fooling around. All right. Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you are. Now I can hear you.
All righty. I wonder what happened. All right. Well, we're back. How about that? Okay. So what's happening?
I heard all the commercials and everything. Yeah. I'm ready to support them, but all of a sudden when it came back to you, I was like, okay, I can't hear a word y'all are saying.
Well, I play your song a little. I didn't even play it last time because I'm suspicious of it. We keep getting these notices that we're playing songs that are copywritten, but I don't see the effect on the show anymore. So I figure I'll just cut it short a little bit. I hate to ask the obvious, but what the hell's happening in Arizona?
Oh, it's Banana Republic. We are officially there. We have had tally machines that were delivered with ballots already in them.
What?
We've got polls where we've got several polls, and I'm just going to use this as an example. 1,000 people signed in for the entire day for election day, but over 1,200 ballots were cast. So where did the 200 ballots come from? We have it's now. They kept saying, well, no, it's only 20% of the tabulation machines were down. That's not true. Now we know that it's well over 30% of the tabulation machines were down.
So who are these guys that keep giving explanations about it? I mean, is this?
Well, It's Bill Gates
Yeah.
is the one who does that. He's the board of supervisors. He's also the guy that testified before the congressional hearing with Andy Biggs when Andy asked him in 2020 election, did you delete the cast votes? And he goes, well, we archived them. And he said, so you deleted them? And he goes, yes. And he goes, so why wasn't that presented to the audit team? They didn't ask for it.
Really?
Okay, they asked for all of the information, and you are deliberately withholding. And so, the thing is that a lot of people need to remember that we had 9,041 votes that were processed that was more than what was mailed out. So again, 9,000 more votes come back than was mailed out in the 2020 election. We're also starting to see, and I'm in the process of filing a lawsuit along with Luis Palazzo, who is running in Arizona as well as a congressman. The thing is that right now, the way it sets, let me take a look at the latest drop and stuff. I have 24,855 votes that's been cast that they've shown. Reuben has 82,034. But the problem is that they still have not counted the election day ballots. And what we're hearing,
why not?
Is that what?
Why not?
Well, the thing is that they're delaying it. So optics. Here's one of the things that's really interesting. So Carrie Lake goes on Sean Hannity yesterday and is talking about how she is slowly creeping up on Katie Hobbs and that she will eventually overtake her. As soon as she came off, Maricopa County does a data drop.
Yeah.
And she loses almost 30,000 votes.
I saw that.
So the thing is, this is all optics. They are trying to show that it's not going to happen. And they came out immediately and said, see, she doesn't know. She's lost 30,000 votes. Well, now today she's back within, I think, 10 or 15,000 votes and stuff. And so she's climbing back in. But what's getting left now is the election day votes. And they're saying that 80 to 90% of those are Republicans that voted Republican straight tickets. In my polls, of exit polls that we were taking all over Congressional District 3, we were getting anywhere from 60 to 70% exit polls saying, yes, I voted straight ticket Republican. We don't want to have any Democrats or anything else. So if we run those numbers and we do it at 60%, I still lose, but I gain quite a bit because I end up with 84,855 to 122,000. But the thing is that this will break every record for 22 years that this congressional district has been alive. I will have gained more votes than any Republican in history for this seat. If it turns out that it's more like 90, I actually win this seat, and I'm going to Congress because it will be 104,000 to 102,000. So that's how critical this is, and these last day votes. So and what was really interesting, they called my race. They called my race with zero reporting. And it was 80-20 with the check mark with Reuben winning and everything. How did they know that Reuben's going to win when there's zero reporting?
Yeah, well, that's what I wondered. Yeah, I mean, so obviously you lost before you got in the race. I mean, they were going to do it to you. How dare you? How dare you make an audit of Arizona? How dare you? Oh
well,
my God!
And if you look at the the RNC and the GOP, I was told by Kelly Ward that I'm in a plus 55 Democratic stronghold. There's no chance for me to win, so she's not going to give me any time, money, resources, or effort. And so the RNC blocked me and did no support whatsoever. And so the thing is that the Republican Party is just as complicit as the Democratic Party in trying to suppress their own party to make sure that they get the people in that they want. And this is an issue. Our Republican Party is just as bad as the Democrats, and I hate to say that, but I'm living proof of how they ostracized me and wouldn't help or in any shape or form.
Okay, so what happens to let's talk about Carrie Lake for a moment. She's still convinced she's going to win. Are you convinced she's going to win?
I do. I think that Carrie Lake wins. Mark Fincham wins. It's going to be so close with Blake Masters. Yeah. I don't know about that. But here's the thing. So let's take a look at the behavior of people. If you know that a fix is in, then you don't debate the other person.
Right.
You don't hold rallies.
Right.
You're not going out to the communities and interacting with the communities.
Right.
You hole up in a basement like Biden did.
Yeah.
And you win based on that. Well, Katie Hobbs did that. Ruben Gallego, think about this. Ruben raised over $2 million in his campaign, yet he spent zero money on any advertising. There was absolutely no signs whatsoever throughout the entire CD3. My signs were up everywhere, and his was nowhere. Yet he, he never goes to any of the functions that we had.
Yeah.
I got to have the greatest time of going to all these ones. I went to the La Rocha Wrestling, which was the 1970s Hispanic, wrestling, but it was Hispanics doing the wrestling, and they got thrown out of the ring. They interact with the crowd. Crowd gets into it and stuff. I mean, we had so much fun going to different things like the lowriders that we do every month.
Okay, so you did the job that you were supposed to do to get elected. He did nothing.
That's
all right,
exactly
right. And what's her name? Hobbs did less than nothing. She did less than nothing, and so we know where are they getting the votes from?
Well, and that's what we're talking about, because we have more votes that are coming out of these precincts than what people went in and registered to vote.
Yeah.
The drop boxes, we've got a lot of the mailing that's coming in that has no chain of custody. Where did it come from? We know that there's a lot of NGOs that are prevalent. And so this is something that is very concerning, because the fact is that we are not getting the results that are going on. Let me do this real quick. So let's jump down here in CD7, which normally that's what I was until they redistrict. And so Luis Palazzo came in. So we have 16,000, almost 17,000 votes that were cast in an area that includes Tucson and also Yuma, which are the second and third largest cities in Arizona, and only 17,000 people cast a vote. And out of that, only 38% goes to Lewis. Lewis actually got Raul Grijalva to debate him. Here's what's really interesting. They had to cut out 2 minutes of the debate because it was tape delayed. They cut out 2 minutes because Roll fell asleep during the debate.
Wait a minute. Is this the guy that you faced?
No.
Oh, it's
No,
another.
this is the guy that
he fell asleep.
Palazzo in CD7.
Well, we found a vice president for John Fetterman, right there.
Exactly.
Go.
You know, this guy is constantly. You know, he can't hardly walk. If he sits down, he falls asleep. He's not a functioning congressman. We have a guy that is been all over. He's drove almost 50 to 60,000 miles just in the last 8 months of getting to all the towns and speaking and doing it. And Grajava didn't even show up. He didn't even do anything, but we were real surprised that he came to this debate. But then, you know, the media, to make him look good, cut out that 2 minutes where they had to go. Somebody had to go over and tap him on the shoulder, wake him up, and everything, and get him reoriented. And then he started answering questions and stuff like that. But they cut all that out.
How long has Arizona been this corrupt? Do you know?
Since about 2008 is how bad it's. They've tried certain things. But as they started to refine it, they learned a lot of lessons in 2016 that they then implemented in 2018 that we caught them with. 2020, obviously, we got the audit, and in going through that, like I said, well over 50,000. Now, the margin of victory between Biden and Trump
10,000.
There was 10,154. And we have in one instance, the canvassing was 168,000 cast votes from residents that people didn't live at that resident.
Yeah.
And over 40,000 of them didn't even live in the state.
Well, it's had enough time to go to court, and they got plenty of evidence, right?
We have plenty of evidence, and everybody keeps saying that nobody had standing. And then what's really interesting is that a lot of people don't know, but the courts just threw out Connect, that we showed that the information was being offloaded into China and that this company was complicit, and they just dropped all the charges and said, yeah, no, it really wasn't.
Really? So what do you do? Where do you go from here?
They did that a couple of days ago.
Where do you go from here?
I'm going to re-register to run for Congress. I said this was an 8-year commitment. We're going to fight, and like I said, I've got lawsuits that we're going to be meeting on Saturday, filing on Monday, along with several other candidates in Arizona. It's not over with yet. If they say that the voters do not have standing, then the candidates do have standing, because I have been harmed because of the suppression of votes. We actually even had a deal where the Gateway Pundit and Real News America was thrown out of the press area, and they have them on record, which stated that this is a no free speech zone. You no longer have free speech.
Really?
And they were being kicked out because they were going to ask them the tough questions. Things like, so what are we doing with the tabulators? Why is it that 2 minutes after the polls opened, that 30% of the tabulators went down? We have documentation of one lady that had went in to vote, cast her vote. The tabulator machine wouldn't accept it. She went to another tabulator machine. It still wouldn't accept it. They said, well, just put it underneath down here.
Yeah,
goes,
right.
No,
we'll count it later. Yeah.
Right. They're going to count it later.
So this was all set up, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't understand. You keep going back to court, you're going to get thrown out of it, especially, first of all, the inclination of judges to get involved in elections is not high to begin with. Secondly, you got a lot of phony judges up there, don't you? And everywhere.
Well, we do. We have a lot of, Obama-appointed judges. The thing is that it's so aggravating that they still keep saying that January 6th was the insurrection, and it was November 3rd was the insurrection.
Yep.
It was the reaction on January 6th, and now they're saying, and I'm getting all of these emails that are now saying, we would like to interview you because we feel like that because you participated in January 6th is the reason why you lost. And I'm going, no, it's the fraud and the election engineering that is taking place is the reason why the red wave supposedly didn't happen. That's not true. The red wave happened. It's that they continually steal these elections and they create all of these, they muddy the water so nobody can clearly see what is going on.
Sure.
And yet I'm going to ask for the CV records, the poll records, and we're going to go through and take a look at it, my group. And then once we come up with it, we're going to make challenges based on the evidence that is presented.
Yeah, well, good luck. I don't know what else to say about that. What good did Harmy Dillon, who said who was there? She's the big Republican lawyer. Did she do any good? I mean, what did she do for you guys?
She's filing, and she's
a lawyer, by the way, in case you don't know. She's a lawyer for the Republican Party.
Correct.
So,
and I'm going to be trying to get in contact with her, and hopefully I'm going to be meeting with her in the next couple of days while she's here so that we can go and I'm getting all this information. We're going to present it to her and show her, what happened.
By the way, I mentioned your name to Dick Morris. You know who he is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he knows all about you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I asked him about, maybe about 6 weeks ago, and he didn't know, and now he knows. Now he knows who you are. You're famous now. And he's very close to Trump. So what should Trump be doing right now as a man who is also an election denier? Actually, it's an election truther is what he is. Because they know what happened. You know what happened. I mean, it's so obvious what's happening right now. They're doing it again.
They are. And the thing is that President Trump, again, the same thing is, and what I keep telling everybody, the process is the punishment that is being placed so that people can wake up and understand what's going on. And enough people still haven't gone through enough of the process and the punishment in order to wake up. And eventually what's going to happen is like Brazil and several of these other places, the Philippines several years ago, where people go out onto the streets in overwhelming numbers and say, we reject this. And, and if you get close to 200 million people in the streets in the United States, then all of a sudden, everybody's going to start going, okay, wait a minute, we can't do this because now the unrest is so much that the people are now revolting. And the thing is that the propaganda, the media, thank God for you, Dave, that you keep getting the truth out there. It's so important that people have a place that they can go to, that they can, trust to get the truth out. But our mainstream media that's out there are not. And it's all propaganda. And because of that, it's really causing a lot of problems because people have been trained that somebody on the television is supposed to be honorable. Well, I'm sorry, but Walter Cronkite died many years ago, and honor just went out the window when he died.
Yeah. And, You got people like the Gateway Pundit. I know those guys. They're legit. I mean,
Yes,
they're legit. And then you got Project Veritas. They're legit too, and they're not getting the air nor the ability to do their jobs, which is to find out what's really happening, because pretty much the whole mainstream media, including Fox News, ain't doing it. You got one guy in Fox News that's sort of doing it, and that's Tucker Carlson. Although he's never come out and said the election was a fraud. He can't say it because he's compromised.
Well, and everybody basically is, because there's some tie. Just think about this, because when this all takes place, and let's just say that 80%, and I am the next congressman here. Think about this. I have no ties whatsoever to the GOP, the RNC. I have no ties to anything or anyone. Now I come in as somebody who is able to be more of a wrecking ball than what Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert ever thought about being, because, again, just like I was talking with Paul Gosar and Andy Biggs, you know, I want on that J6 committee hearing so that I can, bring people in that I know were out there that were falsely accused and show evidence and have attorneys, and we start creating enough evidence that the public then starts seeing what really happened, and then we start holding the media accountable. Because remember, the Nuremberg trials, there were many media people, propagandists, that were executed on behalf of treason because of the propaganda that they kept indoctrinating the people with.
You know, that's a very interesting point, and we can't keep going on like this as a country. We just can't do it, because we're just going to we're being taken over right now, and they're doing it via elections, using mainstream media, using propaganda, using our supposedly, to your point, journalists who are supposed to be journalists, just normal journalists. It's all gone, and so I don't
absolutely.
I don't see an out for this other than fight back somehow. I don't know how, though.
Well, hopefully, what we're going to do is we're also going to turn a lot of this information over. And what we're trying to do is trigger a military observation of what's going on with the elections, get them involved. Once we do that, it triggers a whole lot of other things. And so that's what we're trying to do, is present enough evidence and then have the court systems continually do what they're doing. And eventually the military has to then interject into this. And once they do that, then we start having military tribunals, and that's where we're going to start getting a lot more.
That's an interesting thing you're saying, because I got a guy that's telling me that's already been done. Is that true?
It hasn't been done yet. It's one that it has. We have been looking at it, but they keep saying that we need to have more evidence, because they want enough evidence that everything is done and settled prior to the trials. And it takes an overwhelming amount of evidence. And 2020 and 2022 collectively together, I think that we're going to be able to show a pattern, and these patterns of behavior have gotten worse in those two. So that's what's going on.
Well, they're getting more and more brazen because they're getting away with it. And now you go ahead. I'm sorry.
The point that Jeff made, I think, is a really good point about how he's coming in as an outsider with no ties. That's the same thing Trump was and is, and that's why it's a wrecking ball. It's a threat, so they have to try to neutralize who they deem as a threat to what they're doing.
Right. I would say that's true. By the way, I'm scheduled to have Elad Hakim on there. Do you have time that you can spend with him too? He's a lawyer. He's very pro-Trump, and I think he understands what the hell's going on.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to talk to him, and I can also go over some of the evidence that we're already uncovering and have here in this midterm election.
He's very pro-Trump. People are getting upset. In fact, there he is right now, and he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. What has that Weinbaum got in for me today? Let's play his song. And do you guys know each other, right? Elad and Jeff Zink? Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep them both on. Is that all right, Elad?
Sure.
All right,
absolutely.
Good. Great. Powerhouse South Florida attorney escaping, according to his wife, another hurricane. Expert on politics and law, prolific writer, published all over the world, star of TV, podcast, and the Perry Mason to the Dave Weinbaum Show. Please welcome all the way from Boca Raton, and I need to add the state, Florida, Elad Hakim. All right, and as you know, Elad, just to bring you up to date, we're having a few problems in Maricopa County where Jeff is a candidate, and he says the same thing is happening pretty much as what happened in the 2020 elections, and Jeff was the head of the Arizona audit back then. He is the most knowledgeable guy of that audit, and the same thing is happening to him right now. So I'd like you to comment a little bit on what you've seen. What kind of proof have you seen that the 2020 elections have been proven to be phony?
Are you asking me, Dave?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't.
Or do you know? Do you know if there's evidence of that?
The 2020 elections. I mean, I don't know if I can. I think Jeff would probably be better off speaking about the 2020 elections. I can just say I don't know why. I think that Hobbs, isn't it? I think that Hobbs is in charge of counting the votes. You want to explain to me how a candidate is in charge of counting the votes of the person who is running against her? You want to explain how that happens?
Go ahead and explain that, Jeff.
Well, one of the things is that she was asked to recuse herself and to step down, and she refused to do that. She said that she had enough integrity to actually be the Secretary of State, still run for governor, and that we should trust her because she will be the governor and she will be in a trusted position as a governor. That was her explanation and what she stated to the press and everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, Jeff, I'm sorry to hear what you're going through there. It is, Arizona's becoming, it's a mockery what's happening there. The fact that Maricopa County, of all counties, and I've got a friend who lives out there. I don't know if you know Rachel Alexander, but she's pretty involved. She's a writer, and she's pretty involved with politics out there. And Maricopa County, didn't it have a history of being pretty red? Somehow in 2020 and now 2022, somehow Maricopa County, after years of having a chance to get ready for this exact day, somehow they're having problems with machines. They're still counting ballots. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace. And look at how important Arizona is. Now, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia,
sure,
all these states with problems, they're like the swing states and they have problems. It's
and Nevada too.
Yeah, I mean, and,
exactly.
Georgia, Pennsylvania is in a league of its own. Pennsylvania is the fact that they elected somebody who really isn't competent to serve is a disgrace. But you just, it is. It is a repeat. And you know what, Dave and Jeff, and I have been hot under the collar since
I know
the midterms. I am, and I'm going to say it on record, I am disgusted with the Republican Party. I am disgusted that people have thrown President Trump into the bus.
Yep.
I am disgusted that people have prematurely coronated Governor DeSantis. Okay, listen, I'm in Florida.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful governor.
Yeah.
But make no mistake about it, being a governor in a red state against an opponent of Chris' caliber is not the same as being a president.
Yeah.
And everybody who's so quick to coronate him and to throw Trump under the bus, I think there's a lot that we don't know. And, I'm not going to speak ill of DeSantis because he's my governor and he's been phenomenal. But let's see what comes out. When President Trump says something or does something, he typically doesn't do it, at least based on what we've seen, without a reason.
Yeah.
He's got to know something.
But it's not a reason that is evident to everyone else. You got to wait a while and let it carry out. Because
if there was an America First party,
I
would dump the Republican Party like there was no tomorrow. I would dump them and I would join the America First Party because the establishment Republican Party is a disgrace. And this is exactly why Republicans lose. Without President Trump's endorsements and his rallies, they would have gotten their butts handed to them. Okay, he had over 90% victory for his endorsements.
Right.
And these foolish, ignorant Republicans who lack any sense of loyalty are turning around and blaming Trump.
Yeah, of course. They are. They're doing it.
You know how much money was funneled to hurt America First candidates? Do you have any idea? Just look at what's it called? Alaska, right?
Yeah.
Just look at Alaska. That's Murkowski, right?
Yes.
What did Mitch McConnell do? Mitch McConnell put a ton of money in, all right, to help her against a truly Republican candidate, right?
Yeah.
Why? Why would he do that? Why would the establishment Republican Party,
because she's quote unquote a Republican.
Yes.
Who's really a Democrat.
They put all their effort in to fight and to attack America First candidates. And it's a testament actually to Trump's, clout that he was able to do as well as he did. And I'm telling you, I have had it with Republicans who are anti-American first. I've had it with them. I don't want to deal with them. And I think that is going to be the cause of future Republican losses.
Jeff's going to have a lawsuit out here. He's going to do it possibly over the weekend, starting next week, because they got him losing before there was a vote counted. They checked him off. Is that right? Is that what you told me, Jeff? They actually checked him.
With zero reporting, they had 80-20, me with only 20% of the vote, and Ruben had 80% of the vote. With zero reporting, and they gave it to Ruben, and it was less than an hour after the polls had closed.
And he was telling me a couple weeks ago that he was pretty well sure he was going to win.
Yep.
Okay.
I wish I could say I had faith in the court system.
No.
But I'll tell you something. Based on what happened in 2020, why should anyone have faith in the court system? The courts seem like they don't want to get involved in election-related disputes. I don't know why. Even now, I think that isn't Lake aren't people filing lawsuits or how are they not done counting? How is that possible?
Yeah.
Florida,
it takes a while to print enough ballots to cheat to get in there, and like I was telling Dave earlier, we have polls, and I'm just going to use this as an example. We have numerous polls where 1,000 people registered to vote, but yet we have 1,200 ballots coming out of that polling system.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be, obviously, as you know, Jeff and Dave, it's going to rely on the proof. I mean, based on how the courts, handled the 2020 election related cases.
Right.
There better be significant proof and decisive proof to show these claims. And everyone is looking at Arizona and wondering, how is it possible that a state like Florida, that a state like Texas, that other states, big states, there were no problems. You just count the votes.
Florida, 5 million votes, or how many votes did they have? Maybe 8 million votes in 5 hours. 5 hours.
Ballots.
No problem.
We need to do paper ballots. Trump said it. These machines and these, and the vote by mail they are cause for major concern. What is the problem of having paper ballots, and why is it so difficult to have mail-in voting be the exception as opposed to the rule? I understand veterans. I understand people who really truly cannot get to the polls, but otherwise, get your butts up and get to the polls.
Make it a holiday in case work is keeping you. Make it a national holiday.
That's not a bad idea either. Okay.
I just don't know how would a new party, which is a good idea, but how would that help get us out of this mess? They're still going to cheat on elections.
That's exactly right. But you know what?
What?
Part of this, many people were complaining about this, that there wasn't enough done to look. Republicans are simply not fighters. They're not aggressive enough. Trump said it, okay?
Yeah.
And it starts from the people at the top. Look, if the people at the top are against a certain agenda, there's nothing you can do, okay? There's really nothing you can do.
Are you talking about the Mitch McConnell kind of people? Are you talking about them? How about Kevin McCarthy?
Listen, I'm not a McCarthy fan. I think Trump is kind of flip-flopped on him.
Yeah.
But I don't think that Trump would mind if there's just an entirely new leadership.
Let's say Jim Jordan, a guy like that, would he be susceptible to going into a different party? Does he see the flaws in the Republican Party?
Well, I can't speak for him, although I think
you should.
He probably, does. And listen, I recognize the risk associated with starting a new party, right? Because then you are dividing the Republican Party.
Right.
But look, you got all these people trashing Trump now, right?
Yep.
What are they going to do when Trump wins? Because I'm going to tell you something. Trump is going to beat DeSantis.
Yeah.
Okay? If the two run, Trump will beat DeSantis. All right?
I believe that.
Even in Florida. And Trump has come out and said, I know things that people don't know.
Yeah.
Okay? And this is not an attack on DeSantis. I have said it from the start. I think that he is green, and I don't care how long he's been in politics. I was underwhelmed with his debate performance. I thought that he came across as nervous, as timid, and he's not Trump. He doesn't command a room like Trump does.
Well, he could be a Trump in training, but he did a couple things you got to admit that was pretty smart. He got rid of the people that were cheating elections in Florida. Is that true? He fired a bunch of them after the election, in his first election.
But I'll tell you something. A lot of the election, they passed election reform here, but I don't think it goes into effect until 2024. So, keep in mind, Florida is it's a pretty deeply red state now.
Yep.
You've got pockets. Broward County is never going to go red, but it's a red state. And yes, some of that is thanks to DeSantis because of his policies. But again, there is a difference focusing on an individual state and focusing on a country and international relations. They are just two different things. And people, they are so in love with DeSantis that they're failing to see some of his, weaknesses. And by the way, DeSantis is more conservative than Trump is. Okay. And, everyone who's on the DeSantis bandwagon, I'm not sure that, moderate women are going to exactly take kindly to some of his approaches and some of his positions.
Right.
So,
and he hasn't been attacked viciously like Trump yet.
Not. He hasn't been exposed.
Like Trump is got it for 7 years. I mean,
You know,
7 years.
He was attacked on the bill that Democrats labeled as "Don't Say Gay."
Yeah.
He was attacked on the Martha Vineyard, but this is nothing
right compared to what
waking
Trump.
up every single day and
Now,
facing a new attack.
Are we dealing I asked this question earlier. I think it was to your wife. Are we dealing with the just America? Are we dealing with American parties? How much influence is there by big government people who have billions and billions of dollars, like the people like Bill Gates have obviously Facebook and Twitter had a lot of effect. They put a lot of money into it. They put a lot of restraints into this. And how far does this go all over the world? Is China involved in this? Are we being dictated to by other than the parties that are actually fighting right now? Do they have a lot to do with this? And how do we fight them? If that's true.
I don't have enough knowledge or information to speak about influences outside of the country. All right,
pandemic?
I'll leave that to Jeff and to people who are more in the know.
Where'd the pandemic come from?
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, listen, but to answer your question, yes, I think that social media plays a huge role. And if you remember, and I was talking to you about this before the midterms, I said, I feel like Republicans are sitting there and like punching bags and simply absorbing and letting Democrats dictate the narrative. And that's exactly what happened. I don't quite know what exit polling has shown yet, but I know that abortion was an issue.
Yeah.
I know that anti-democracy, it was an issue.
Yeah.
That is all. If you didn't have components within your own party fighting against the America First movement, the results could have been different. And let's not sit here and say that Republicans failed. Okay, Republicans didn't fail. Well, Arizona failed, but Republicans didn't fail. Republicans are poised to take the House, and the Senate was always questionable. And we'll see what happens with the Senate.
Right.
Where Republicans did fail, just to further point out, my disgust with the Republicans, when Trump was president towards the end of his term, Republicans had a chance, for example, to do something about Section 230, which directly deals with social media. Right. And they wimped out. They didn't do anything. All right. And yes, social media is playing a big role now. And you know who's the leader? I think it's your attorney general now. What's his name? Schmidt?
Oh, Schmidt, yeah.
Right?
Eric Schmidt.
He is phenomenal. And he's pushing back and actually making great progress against big tech and against the Biden administration, who he sued. All right. So, Republicans are the problem. Okay. I hate to say it. I've had enough, disagreements online and social media recently.
Well,
Trump is done. No, Trump isn't done. Okay. It's the establishment Republicans that need to be done. All right. They either need to get on board or they need to, we need to start a new party.
Here's something that is even worse. The Republicans are starting to parrot the lines against Trump from the Democrats.
Exactly.
They're starting to parrot the Democrats. They have fallen for all the BS, all the democracy, all the insurrection.
And
thing.
Trump was right. They said, listen, Trump was right.
Absolutely.
Trump has his flaws, and I've been accused by people, you can't find anything wrong with Trump. No, that's not true. Right. I call things out when I find them to be wrong.
Right.
He was right all along. Republicans in general are weak. Okay. I hate to say it. Do you think, when is the last time you saw the Democrats splinter? When? It just doesn't happen. And what's going to happen now if Republicans, what are they going to do? Bash Trump, right?
They're doing it.
Support him? What are they going to do? Are they going to support him?
I don't know. That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. Look at what the other side represents. Look at their actual performance and contrast it to Trump's performance. The contrast is devastating to the Democratic Party, and yet the Republicans are yelling at Trump right now.
I had somebody tell me yesterday, who's got quite a big following, well, Trump is responsible for his endorsements. It's his fault. And I said to her, first of all, from a legal sense, learn what causation means, okay? There's just because he endorsed somebody doesn't mean he caused them to lose, okay? So
Right.
that just sounds dumb. But more importantly, it's not his fault. It is, look where the money is, okay? It's the money. If you have somebody who is trying to sabotage the former president and his movement, and those people are allegedly on your side of the aisle, okay, what do you think is going to happen? Honestly, what do you think is going to happen? So, America's
Well, you got to lose and keep losing and keep putting us further and further under. I mean, we're in a devastatingly vulnerable situation right now for world wars, for economic inflation, even the gas situation all over the country now, except for maybe Florida, is in question because they don't know if they have enough heating oil. Okay, this is when did we think? When did that happen under Trump? Didn't happen.
You know what, Dave? I think the best way, at least the best way for me to say it is, unfortunately, Republicans are not good at the long game. They're very reactionary. So when something happens, they react, right?
Yeah.
Democrats are better at thinking long term. They know what the end goal is, and they know how to get there. Republicans, Trump knows how to do that, but Republicans don't. So instead of taking the lead and being aggressive, okay, they're always reacting.
Yeah.
So Trump gets impeached, they react. Trump gets attacked, they react. Instead of being ahead of the game, okay, they're always a step or two behind. And I don't know if it's intentional. I don't know what it is, but until that changes, the fact that people are turning on Trump is a perfect example. They're turning on Trump. What do they think is going to happen by doing that? Do they think that some Republican, contender is going to come and save the day?
Yeah, they're thinking that. They're thinking exactly that.
Do they think that DeSantis or someone else, whoever it is, do they think that they're just going to simply announce their nomination and skate through without being viciously attacked? Okay, is that what
I think they do. I think
Are
they're that dumb.
Are they confident that any of these other potential heroes that they're coronating are going to be able to sit there, take it, deal with it, and then make America what it was under Trump while being viciously attacked every single day? And I'm not talking being called, a big bad meanie. I'm talking about attacks on your family, attacks on your personal life, efforts to put you in prison. All right. So they think short term. Oh, great. Our governor won the red state of Florida against a terrible candidate. That means that he's the leader of the Republican Party.
All right. JP wants to butt in here.
So to Elad's point about the long game, I saw on election day, election morning, before we ever knew there were issues with ballots in Arizona or anywhere else, and this whole counting issue that's been going on, basically debacle, there was already ads out on TV saying there's going to be hundreds of or millions of people trying to deny the election results, and they are just They already had the campaign ready to go, and they were floating it before we ever knew there were issues, so that they could use that as their scapegoat of, see, they're just conspiracy theorists again. They were set and ready.
Yeah. See, and people are the Republicans are buying this. Well, maybe it's us. They're just not very bright, and they're not tough. All right.
I feel for Jeff. Listen, I don't know. I feel for Jeff and the other, Republicans in Arizona. How is it that after 2020 and what happened, that Arizona and every other state was not ready to go with the election? That's all that was on the mind of people for years.
You had one thing, and you had years to think about it. One thing, and you couldn't get it right.
How does a nominee get the position of counting the votes of her opponent? How does Maricopa County, which was the county at the center of all the problems in 2020, have problems again in 2022? How does that happen? How? If somebody can explain that to me, a legitimate explanation, how in the hell does that happen?
Well, it's always happened, but now is it's so pervasive. It's part of the culture now.
Part of that.
Go ahead.
Part of that is that coming from Sonny Borelli, who is a state senator here in Arizona, he said that there's no contingency, there's no laws to prevent her from keeping her position and running for a higher office, which they're going to try to correct. However, having a one-seat majority and rhinos, things like that, we couldn't get any of the election integrity bills passed because all of the rhinos jumped over and voted with the Democrats to block all of those. So that's one of the problems that we have, and a lot of them are now starting to wake up. But Dave, I've got to run. I've got another program that it starts at 10 o'clock that I've got to jump on, and I really appreciate it.
God bless you, Jeff Zink, for doing what you're doing.
Good luck, Jeff, with everything.
Keep fighting, okay?
Oh, we're going to. We're
right.
going to be filing lawsuits, and I'm also going to refile, and I'm going to be running again. This is not over by any long of the imagination.
Well, we'll be with you. And,
all right.
I'll be with you.
I appreciate it.
All right. I appreciate you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, Elad. Thanks. Let's see. What else you got? What was I going to ask you about?
I wanted to make one more
go ahead.
kind of in agreement with Elad's point about, this whole thing with the election stuff. And in my opinion, the minute all this started about the litigation with elections and that all we are conspiracy theorists when it comes to this is when the Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr, came out less than a month after the election and said there's absolutely no proof of voter fraud. You can't determine that within a month. He completely derailed any conversation that we could have had about it.
And Brett Baer started off within days saying, if you think the election was stolen, it's a big lie.
Yeah, I don't watch Fox News.
Yeah,
I haven't watched it in ages. I do like a few of their people. I like Kennedy. I like Mark Levin. But I don't watch it. I'll just watch a replay of that on YouTube or something. I don't watch them. They've been anti-Trump since 2020.
Well, speaking of that, you got to tell us what you do watch or what you're actually writing in. Other than DaveWeinbaum.net, where can people find and hire you, and where are you appearing?
Find me. I write a lot for Right Side Broadcasting, and for those who don't follow Right Side, you should, because they are everywhere that Trump goes. Every Trump rally, they're there live. They'll be there on Tuesday for his announcement. Also, find me on Facebook at Thoughtfully Conservative, Elad Hakim on Twitter, and keep pushing the America First movement, because if we don't and we start following these establishment Republicans, we're going nowhere. We're going backwards.
I have only one little criticism of you, and that is, I heard that you're 1 foot short of a yard sale. Is that true?
He's not laughing.
He's not laughing. It was a joke. Get off my. All right. Love you, man. You take care of yourself. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you guys. Shabbat shalom.
It was great having Amy on, and I'm glad you got your 18-year-old to vote.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Super. All right. Shabbat shalom, my friend.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Whoa. Well, this show started off a little slow, but I'll tell you what. That last piece, that's breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. That's breaking news. Okay, and I'm gonna be playing the hell out of this all weekend. As soon as I'm awake, I'm probably gonna sleep a little bit tonight. But the weekend and on, we're gonna push this show. We're getting out there. I'm telling you.
But we can't stop the fight. This is the time to dig in deep, get in the trenches, and get the job done, because our our country.
We need some real leadership.
Yep.
To do this. And we need people who are unafraid to say what they think, and not what some schmucks are saying to them, third parties of how we should think. Okay, it doesn't work like that. You don't get the truth like that. You got to be a little patient. You got to have a little feel for what's true and what isn't true, and you can't give in to the mob that wants you to think a different way. Sometimes the mob is right, but usually they're not. Okay? So, thank you all for listening. Thank everybody on Twitter for pushing the show. They push it like crazy. And God forbid we should ever have John Fetterman for president, because that's where we're going. I'll be back with another edition of Dave Weinbaum Show next week.